Chapter 541. C543 The First Sword Emperor in the Immortal World. When Li Wuji set foot in Yutian realm, the ferocious aura radiated made countless creatures tremble. Everyone couldn't help but feel palpitations, and felt that a disaster was imminent. In an instant, exclamations of exclamation arose one after another from all over the place. This aura, could it be that a supreme evil demon has descended on my heavenly domain? It's entirely possible, and we have to stop it no matter what. Look, Immortal Haoran has passed by. The same goes for Immortal Dao. They are all going to suppress that evil demon now. For a time, many immortal-level powerful men were alarmed and rushed to their destinations to nip the source of this disaster in the cradle to avoid causing the tragic scene of devastation. Far away within the 100,000 mountains, a terrifying figure with overwhelming evil energy was brandishing a knife, its head covered with blood and hair dancing wildly, its eyes were ferocious and terrifying, and its face was filled with a look of madness. Rumble. The violent sword energy swept across like a storm, and countless jet-black sword lights flew out, destroying the surrounding giant mountains. Li Wuji was aimlessly destroying everything along the way. If no one intercepted him, he would continue to wreak havoc until he destroyed the entire territory. Suddenly, more than 10 powerful figures appeared in the air one after another, and the aura of the Immortal Lord was clearly revealed. At this moment, they all frowned and looked at the crazy blood-haired man below. What's going on with this person? Is he possessed? A young man wearing a feather crown asked with surprise on his face. I guess this is a possessed swordsman. Another middle-aged man with a halo of light hanging behind his head and a figure like a towering iron tower murmured with his arms folded. However, in history, even if swordsmen are possessed by demons, no one has behaved like him, said a woman in colorful clothes with an extraordinary temperament. Her nose was wrinkled and her voice was melodious, with a questioning tone. Everyone, that lunatic has noticed us. At this time, an axe-wielding man's expression changed and he quickly reminded. Sensing that there were more than a dozen life auras nearby, Li Wuji lost his mind and immediately launched a fierce offensive. A mere immortal emperor dared to swing his sword at more than a dozen immortal lords. Such an outrageous scene took place today. Boom! After catching the knife forcefully, the feather-crested young man felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He spat out a mouthful of blood with a painful look on his face, and there was deep fear in his eyes. Are you kidding me? So strong. Not only the Yuguan youth, but also everyone else deeply felt the terrifying strength of Li Wuji at the moment of the fight. To put it bluntly, if they weren't present at the same time, not many of them would be able to stop him in a one-on-one duel. Everyone felt incredible. After the brief shock, they were shocked and angry inside. A dozen immortal lords gathered here, but they were shocked by an immortal emperor. Fellow Taoists, stop hiding and suppress this demon. The man with the axe roared. Immediately, one by one, they displayed the immortal level laws, and their momentum increased steadily. Li Wuji was in the center of the storm and was at risk of being torn apart at any time. After all, although he was very strong in his mad state, the gap in realm was so great that it was still too unrealistic to fight against a dozen immortals at the same time. However, the next second, along with the arrival of the majestic godless majesty, a majestic voice like a bell echoed in the sky. Everyone, stop it. In an instant, the dozen or so immortal-level experts who were about to deliver a fatal blow seemed to be forcibly controlled, unable to move. Even Li Wuji, who was going crazy, was caught by a big invisible hand, and no matter how hard he struggled, it was to no avail. In the sky, a majestic middle-aged figure appeared, with a face as sharp as a knife and an axe, thick black eyebrows and raised eyebrows, a nose that seemed to be hanging, and a gleam in his eyes that was so sharp that it was difficult to look directly at him. There is an indescribable domineering power about him, full of imperial power. Well, that's the Yutian Sword Emperor. I didn't expect that he would even take action personally. Among them, a powerful immortal master said in shock. I'll wait to see the Sword Emperor. Everyone reacted and quickly bowed respectfully. Yutian Sword Emperor, just by hearing the name, you know that he is a powerful being who proves the emperor through the way of swords. He is the spiritual leader worshipped by countless sword cultivators in the immortal world. To this day, he is an example for sword cultivators to strive for. You can't kill him, Emperor Yutian Sword said in a deep voice. He was originally in seclusion, but later he was disturbed and came out, so he simply went to find the source of this special aura. When he saw that Li Wuji's sword skills were so profound and his strength was so ridiculous, Yutian Sword Emperor was not only shocked, but also felt a sense of pity for his talent. You must know that no matter where sword cultivation is the mainstream, a person like him who has achieved emperor status with his sword skills is currently the only one in the entire immortal world. This shows how the sword skills have withered. Therefore, Emperor Yudian's sword often felt lonely, until Li Wuji's appearance surprised him as if he had discovered a unique treasure. In desperation, he took action to stop everyone. Hear the words. Everyone looked at each other, with shock visible in each other's eyes. But, he is like this. If we don't kill him, he will come to kill us. The young man with feather crown said depressedly. You don't have to worry about it. Yudian's sword emperor's tone was unquestionable, carrying an irresistible force. He narrowed his eyes and looked around, only to see Li Wuji surrounded by demonic energy, his blood and hair dancing wildly, and he kept shouting, kill, 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 as if he would not stop until death. It's really strange. This person is not purely possessed by the devil, but is affected by a special blood in his body. If he continues to consume it, he will soon go to self-destruction. In this case, I will forcibly seal his special blood and then dispel all the negative thoughts in his mind. After thinking again and again, the Emperor of the Heavenly Sword raised 2 fingers, and the fingertips were lingering with the supreme power of the immortal Emperor, and injected into Li Wuji's body. Roar! Li Wuji screamed in pain. The crazy blood in his body that was taking effect was sealed by many invisible chains of order at this time, and it was difficult to leak out a trace of power, and finally fell into silence. Then, the Emperor of the Heavenly Sword pinched his fingers with one hand, uttered a strange syllable from his mouth, and his tongue burst into spring thunder. Ang! Suddenly, like a brilliant thunder in the sky, Li Wuji's tiger body shook, his head was buzzing, and the idea of killing was cleared away. Soon, the blood-red color in his eyes faded like a tide, and his eye-catching blood-red hair turned black again. But Li Wuji did not wake up because of this, but his eyes rolled back, and he fell into a coma with his head drooping. Because of the overload of his body functions, his body and mind are almost collapsed now. At this moment, he can no longer support it and fainted directly. Seeing this, everyone didn't know what to say. After all, the big boss of the immortal emperor level spoke personally and suppressed the disaster. After all, they have read, emotional quotient. If they don't know how to promote it, they will really burn themselves. This person will be handed over to me for disposal later. Do you have any objections? Yudian Dao Emperor said lightly. No, no, the immortals lowered their heads tactfully. Remember, there is no need to reveal too much about what happened today to the outside world. After speaking, Yudian Dao Emperor took the fainted Li Wuji and disappeared between heaven and earth. The majestic imperial power that enveloped the surroundings instantly disappeared. Everyone was relieved and relieved. Even though the Yudian Sword Emperor had already left, they still bowed and said politely, "We respectfully send the Sword Emperor off." This is a kind of respect for the Yudian Sword Emperor. There was even a rumor that the Yudian Sword Emperor was the strongest among the 8 immortal emperors in the southern heaven immortal realm. Whether it is true or not, it is not something that ants like them can violate. Chapter 542. C. 544 The Yudian Sword Emperor was dumbfounded. After Li Wuji was taken away by Emperor Yudian Sword, the panic in the entire region was calmed down. It's just that many monks don't know who caused it. During this period, the dozen or so immortals involved in this matter all tacitly ignored the matter. Yudian Sword Sect. Thousands of tall peaks rise from the ground to the sky, exuding the majesty of the atmosphere. Pavilions and pavilions stand among the mountains. Snow-white waterfalls hang like the Milky Way, and the sound of crashing is endless. This is the sect founded by Emperor Yudian Sword, and only sword cultivators are qualified to join. It is a holy place that all swordsmen in the world must worship. In the wing room, Li Wuji's eyelids moved slightly, and cold sweat dripped from his forehead. Then he suddenly woke up, sat upright, his clothes were soaked with cold sweat, and he gasped for air. He had an extremely long nightmare, but it was extremely real. In the dream, he transformed into a madman and killed everyone. He killed gods and Buddhas, and blood-bathed the entire immortal world. In the end, he even killed his master Yi. King's Landing was killed. In the end, Li Wuji was so frightened that he woke up. Okay, this is all a dream. Let me just say, I don't have that much ability, even Master Ahem. Li Wuji realized that what he said next was treasonous, and he stopped in time with an embarrassed look on his face. Immediately, he came to his senses and looked at the unfamiliar surroundings with a dazed look in his eyes. Where did this come from? Why am I here? Aha! Li Wuji racked his brains, but ended up with a splitting headache, and it was difficult to reorganize the fragmented memory fragments in his mind. This is the scary thing about the crazy bloodline. Even if you wake up later, it will be difficult to remember what you did when you lost control. Haha, I've been in a coma for more than 10 days, and now I'm finally awake. At this time, a voice sounded in his ears. Who are you? Li Wuji responded vigilantly. Don't be nervous, you are still saved by me, otherwise you will continue to fall and eventually be devoured by the special blood in your body until you die. Hear this. Li Wuji's expression suddenly changed. This was his biggest reliance and secret. Now that it was exposed with just one word, how could he not be shocked? He quickly checked himself and found that there was a huge force in his body, sealing his crazy bloodline. In this case, wouldn't it be impossible for me to stimulate it later? Li Wuji wondered. Don't worry, when you achieve the position of immortal emperor, you will naturally be able to break through this seal and regain this power. The message continued to sound. Breaking through the immortal emperor. Li Wuji still felt that the concept of the immortal emperor was too far away. What, don't you have the confidence? The mellow middle-aged voice was filled with a hint of disappointment. No shit, he's the immortal emperor, it's only a matter of time for me. Li Wuji immediately slapped his thigh and made bold remarks. Haha, very good, ambitious. The familiar voice sounded again. He did not feel displeased by Li Wuji's arrogance. On the contrary, he appreciated it more and felt that it was very agreeable. Speaking of which, senior, who are you? Li Wuji asked tentatively. He vaguely recalled that Duo Bao Immortal Lord and Leiji Immortal Lord were seemingly killed by him, but he had no memory of what happened next. But in that crazy state, he was still able to suppress him forcibly, which shows that this mysterious senior is profound and has great magical powers. Listen carefully, I am the Heavenly Sword Emperor. The next second, that majestic voice rang in Li Wuji's ears, shocking his mind. Li Wuji was stunned at first, then opened his eyes wide, and exclaimed with disbelief on his face, Sword Emperor. In the immortal world, those whose titles are related to the word emperor are basically immortal emperor level figures. And those who can be called Emperor of Swords naturally have the supreme achievement of being an emperor in the way of swords. Li Wuji didn't expect that the person who rescued him turned out to be a sword emperor. As both sword cultivators, the excitement is self-evident. Don't be stunned, come here. As soon as he finished speaking, a strange light spot appeared in the room and floated in front of Li Wuji. Li Wuji carefully stretched out his fingers to touch it, and then his whole body was sucked in, and the world was spinning in an instant. When he came to his senses again, he found that he had arrived on a cliff outside. The clouds and mists were billowing, the cranes were roaring, and the site of Yutian sword sect was in full view. In front of him, there was a middle-aged man standing with his hands behind his back. Even though he was deliberately restrained, he was still full of oppression. His aura was like a peerless blade unsheathed, which was terrifying. Just looking at the back, I feel incredibly strong. Greetings, senior. Senior Li Wuji will never forget your great kindness. Seeing his savior, Li Wuji quickly bowed his hands and expressed respect. Well, it turns out your name is Li Wuji, a good name. Emperor Yutian Sword looked at the horizon, heard the voice behind him, and nodded thoughtfully. Thank you for the compliment, senior. Li Wuji said. This is the first time I have seen your special bloodline, but what I value more is the sword skills you display. Yutian Sword Emperor said with deep meaning. Li Wuji fell silent, not knowing how to respond. The crazy bloodline was activated by his master before, and the Chaos Heavenly Sword art was also given by his master. If the other party wants to deprive him of his bloodline and forcibly extract the skills from the depths of his sea of consciousness, there is really nothing he can do with his strength. But to his surprise, the Heavenly Sword Emperor had no such intention. Little friend Li, you don't need to be nervous. Every cultivator has his own secrets. I will not deliberately pursue them. This statement shows that the Heavenly Sword Emperor has a very broad mind. Li Wuji was shocked and admired the character of this senior very much. In fact, he thought too much. The crazy demon bloodline cannot be taken away at will. There is also the Chaos Heavenly Sword art, which is a kind of system practice. Unless he tells the content of the practice in person, even the Immortal Emperor cannot take it away. Little friend Li, you are only at the realm of Immortal Emperor, but you have such strength. It is not an exaggeration to call you a genius in the way of sword. But even if it is a unique piece of jade, it cannot play its due value without a master to carve it. I am the Emperor of the Way of Sword. I am the second in the lineage of sword. No one in the whole immortal world dares to claim to be the first. Now, I am willing to accept you as my disciple. Are you willing? When saying this, Yudian Daodi turned his back to Li Wuji, with a demeanor full of the style of a worldly master. At this time, he could no longer hold back and expressed his final intention to take in Li Wuji. If there were cultivators from the outside world who heard this, they would be shocked and extremely envious of Li Wuji. You know, Yudian Daodi is the strongest sword cultivator in the immortal world. Many sword cultivators dream of becoming his disciples, but so far, Yudian Daodi has never accepted a single disciple. Because his vision is very high, even the two most outstanding sword masters in the sect, one is now the sect master and the other is the supreme elder, they only received a few pointers from him, and they are not considered his direct disciples. However, such a legendary figure standing at the top of the sword path actually took the initiative to ask Li Wuji to be his disciple. If this matter gets out, the sword cultivators in the entire immortal world will go crazy. Li Wuji was stunned. He was still very surprised about this request. A sword emperor took the initiative to accept him as a disciple, which would definitely bring huge benefits. Yudian sword emperor still had his hands behind his back, quietly waiting for Li Wuji's reply, but in fact he already had the answer in his heart. Just kidding. What is his identity? The first sword emperor in the immortal world, the faith of the sword cultivators in the world. Now he takes the initiative to accept a disciple, who would refuse? Wouldn't he be so moved that he knelt down and kowtowed on the spot and shouted that the disciple greeted the master? Thinking of this, the corner of Yudian Daodi's mouth could not help but raise a subtle arc, and he secretly looked forward to the next scene. Perhaps he could calmly turn around later, reveal a mysterious smile, nod, or show some enthusiasm, directly take the initiative to help Li Wuji who was kneeling on the ground, pat his shoulders and say something earnestly. In short, Yudian Daodi has begun to imagine. Soon. Li Wuji's voice without hesitation sounded behind him. I don't want to. Well, from now on, this seat is yours. Wait. You, what did you say? Yudian Daodi said halfway, and then he suddenly reacted, turned around and looked, almost suspecting that his ears had heard it wrong. I said, I don't want to. Li Wuji's face was serious and said in a deep voice. Boom. Yudian Daodi was like being struck by a bolt from the blue, his head was buzzing, and he was stunned for a moment. Damn, the dignified Daodi, accepted a disciple, but was rejected. Chapter 543. C545. Don't think too much, I just happened to pass by. The Emperor of Heavenly Sword was really confused. He had never been so confused in his life. He stood there for a while, not knowing what to do. This was completely opposite to what he had imagined in advance. After a long while, the Emperor of Heavenly Sword finally came to his senses. He felt embarrassed and immediately scolded him. You are out of your mind, right? Do you know that this is an opportunity that many sword cultivators in the world dream of? But you actually refused it. These words could not hide his excitement and deep confusion. In the eyes of the Emperor of Heavenly Sword, Li Wuji was too ungrateful. Where can you find such a good opportunity? Unexpectedly, Li Wuji remained unmoved and said in a deep voice, It is my great honor that the senior is willing to accept me as a disciple, but I appreciate your kindness, but I really can't worship you as my master. Hearing this, the Heaven Sword Emperor was so angry that he almost went crazy. His eyes were bloodshot and he stared at Li Wuji. His back teeth were almost broken, as if he saw an enemy. No, why? I am the Sword Emperor. This is the first time in so many years that I want to accept a disciple. But this guy still refuses to agree. It seems that being my disciple is shameful. Obviously, Li Wuji's firm refusal made the arrogant Heaven Sword Emperor doubt his life. Reason, I want a reason. The muscles of the Heaven Sword Emperor twitched, and he squeezed out a sentence from his teeth for a long time. He wanted to know why Li Wuji was unwilling to agree. If he didn't get the reason, he would probably die of depression later. Seeing that the other party was so persistent, Li Wuji sighed helplessly and smiled bitterly. Senior, to be honest, I already had a master before this, so I can't worship under someone else's door, because this is a treasonous practice. According to the tradition of the cultivation world, there can only be one master. No matter where you are, it is the iron rule that is tacitly followed. If you dare to worship someone else as your master privately when you already have a master, it is against morality and rules. In terms of emotion and reason, this is a taboo in the sect. Although becoming the direct disciple of Yudian Daodi is very tempting for any sword cultivator, Li Wuji only recognizes one master in his life, and that is Yi Junlin. You know, when he almost died at the Shui family banquet in Kunlun realm, it was the appearance of the silver-haired young man who helped him get rid of his enemies. Afterwards, he accepted him as a disciple to activate the crazy bloodline and bestow the supreme skills. From then on, the gears of fate began to turn, and he came all the way to now. Li Wuji dare not forget, and cannot forget. Ever since he was willing to join the other party's sect, he silently swore in his heart that he would only recognize this master in his life, even if he was asked to sacrifice his life, he would not hesitate. Therefore, in the face of the olive branch thrown by Yutian deity, although Li Wuji was a little flattered, he still refused without hesitation. Hearing this reason, Yutian deity was stunned on the spot, with a hint of embarrassment in his eyes. Sure enough, this person could achieve such success in the way of the sword, and there must be a famous teacher behind him. It was all his fault that he ignored this point in his haste. At this time, Yutian deity became curious, who could teach such a top sword cultivator? To have such a skill, he must be a sword master himself. But he had never heard that there was a second sword emperor in the immortal world besides him. Could it be that the other party was not a sword emperor? Just a sword master? Yutian deity became more and more depressed the more he thought about it. But he still didn't give up and wanted to change Li Wuji's mind. Little friend Li, as the saying goes, the wisest one is the master, and it's not a bad idea to find another master. At most, I will come forward for you and give some compensation to the master behind you. Unexpectedly, when Li Wuji heard this, his face suddenly became gloomy. He looked directly at the tall middle-aged man and said coldly, "Senior, I respect you and I am very grateful that you saved me, but if you insist on doing so, at most I will return my life to you." The tone was firm and every word was precious. Even if he died, he was unwilling to betray his master. "You," the Emperor of the Heavenly Sword was shocked and his face turned pale. If it was any other immortal emperor who dared to talk to him like this, he would have been slapped to death by him. But when it came to Li Wuji, he really couldn't bear to do it. After all, the other party was really too much to his liking. Whether it was his qualifications or his temper, he was the candidate for his most desired apprentice. However, the other party was beaten to it by someone else, and he was unwilling to become his disciple even if he died. Suddenly, Yutian deity was annoyed and felt deeply depressed. In the end, all his emotions turned into a helpless sigh. "Hey, if that's the case, then I don't have to force it." Seeing that the other party was willing to give in, Li Wuji felt relieved. He didn't want to make the relationship with his savior so tense. "Senior, get out." A scolding. Yutian deity turned around with a cold face, leaving behind a strong back. "Yes, I will leave this place now." Li Wuji knew that he had no face to stay any longer, so he bowed and turned to leave. "Wait," the voice of Yutian deity came again. What else do you want, senior?" "Here, take this to the elders' pavilion and report." "What?" Li Wuji looked at the Thunderwood token in his hand, on which were written 4 large vermilion characters, "Guest Elder," and his expression suddenly became extremely exciting. "You are not allowed to join my disciples, but you can still serve as the guest elder of my Yutian sword sect, right? Don't worry, this is just a temporary position. You can leave whenever you want. You are free." Emperor Dao of Yutian Sword. Hearing this, Li Wuji had no reason to refuse. After all, his body had not fully recovered yet and was still very weak. Staying in Yutian Sword sect could just get him through this dangerous period. This is a good thing. For a moment, Li Wuji felt hard to understand in his heart, and he felt even more grateful to Emperor Yutian Sword. He thought that if he had the opportunity to repay him in the future, he must go all out. "Why are you standing there so stupidly? Get out of here." The voice of Emperor Yutian Sword fell into his ears again, and there was a hint of anger in his words. Hey, Li Wuji was not angry, he smiled, grabbed the token in his hand and ran away. Subsequently, the Yutian Sword sect has a new guest elder. In the following days, Li Wuji practiced his sword skills while recovering his condition. On the back mountain, the sword energy was surging freely. Li Wuji held the long sword in his hand, his figure was as fast as a ghost, his sword skills were unpredictable, and he was full of fierce and domineering aura. Just when he was immersed in practicing swordsmanship as usual, suddenly a familiar mellow voice came from above his head. "No, you are using your power incorrectly." Li Wuji's movements froze for an instant. He looked up and found that it was the Yutian Sword Emperor who spoke. "Senior, how did you?" "Ahem, you don't need to be surprised. I just happened to pass by." Emperor Yutian Sword pretended to cough a few times and said shamelessly. "I see." Li Wuji's eyes were a little strange, but he didn't expose it to his face. "May I ask, Senior, what do you mean by what you just said?" The next second, Li Wuji asked in a deep voice. He has always been very serious about cultivation. Emperor Yudian's sword said. The power you wield when you wield the sword seems to be extremely domineering, but in fact some of it is scattered. It must be gathered together in a more refined way to be considered perfect. Now you can follow the formula I told you, and then try it and see if there is any change. Then, he passed on an obscure formula. After Li Wuji heard this, he was greatly shocked and quickly followed the steps to perform the sword technique. During the process, his eyes became brighter and brighter, and there was a deep joy on his face as if he had found a treasure. Just such a seemingly simple correction increased the power of each of his swords by about 50%. This is undoubtedly a major breakthrough based on his foundation. How? Seeing Li Wuji's appearance, Emperor Yudian's sword couldn't help but curl up with a proud smile. The effect is excellent, thank you for your guidance, senior. Li Wuji quickly cupped his fists and bowed to express his thanks, his tone full of admiration. What does this mean? If you become my disciple, Yudian's sword emperor mentioned it again intentionally or unintentionally, with crazy hints in his eyes. Li Wuji, he didn't reply, but fell into silence. Don't think too much, I just mentioned it casually. Yudian's sword emperor said in a serious tone as if this was the case. Immediately, he turned around and left, leaving Li Wuji with a depressed look on his face. Looking at the disappearing figure, Li Wuji shook his head with a wry smile, and continued to practice with his sword. From now on, every once in a while, when Li Wuji was practicing swordplay alone, Yudian's sword emperor would always show up for various clumsy reasons. Every time, he would give a few logical hints, and then make crazy hints, trying to make Li Wuji change of mind. In this way, under this weird atmosphere, Li Wuji's strength also increased rapidly. Northern Cold Immortaland, a certain peach blossom mountain isolated from the world. There was a young man's extremely excited laughter, and the laughter was full of ultimate joy and pride. Haha, my magical power is finally perfect. Warm reminder. If you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error, or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 544. C546 The Demon Cave changed suddenly. The source of the voice is Bo Chengli, the notorious peach blossom immortal of the Northern Han immortal realm. The reason why he was so happy was because his yin-yang siphoning skill had broken through to a whole new level. In other words, even if he is currently in the realm of Immortal Lord, he can control an Immortal Emperor-level woman with this technique. Deep in the peach blossom forest, Bo Chengli was filled with excitement and couldn't help but think about a bright future. His greatest ambition has always been to control Li Ruotong, the strongest female monk in the Northern Cold Immortal Territory, so as to achieve the goal of dominating the Northern Cold Immortal Territory. Although Li Ruotong later proved to be the Immortal Emperor, it really surprised him, but fortunately, he had achieved great success and now he was really stable. Because this most perfect yin and yang siphoning skill can make Li Ruotong fall in love with him without thinking and completely become his accessory. This is Bo Chengli's greatest confidence. It's just that what I didn't expect is that the guy named Yi is also in the realm of Immortal Emperor. It is said that his skills are no less than that of the ancestor of the Li family. Damn it, why does this person appear? It's really troublesome. Suddenly, thinking of Yi Junline's existence, Bo Chengli gradually stopped laughing, his expression became extremely ugly, and he gritted his teeth with hatred. For him, Yi Junline was like a thorn stuck in his throat. It was very uncomfortable when he wanted to vomit but couldn't. Originally, as long as he controlled Li Ruotong, it would be equivalent to being invincible in the Northern Han immortal realm. From then on, he could do whatever he wanted and live happily. But now, apart from Li Ruotong, a powerful person who is suspected to be even more powerful appears out of nowhere. The most depressing thing is that the other party is still a man. If it were a woman, he could still win with his skills, but if it were a man, the skills he was so proud of would fail. The more Bo Chengli thought about it, the more he felt aggrieved. He always felt that God was deliberately against him and sent such a natural enemy to cause trouble for him. But now that the matter has come to this, Bo Chengli has no way to get rid of Yi Junline, and plans to control Li Ruotong first before taking action according to the plan. After all, if you can get the help of an immortal emperor, why worry about achieving hegemony? There's just one problem now. Although my technique can control an immortal emperor-level woman, I still need to be extremely careful. Back then, that woman could kill me with just one finger, let alone now. So I can't act in a hurry. You have to wait for the right time. Bo Chengli's eyes were dark and unclear, and he said thoughtfully. You must know that before his clone could find Li Ruotong sensed it in advance and wiped out his clone with one finger. This incident caused a huge psychological shadow on Bo Chengli. Even now when he thinks about it, he feels a chill on his back. The reason is very simple. If it was him who went there in the first place, then he would be the one who was wiped out with one finger. What else is going on now? Now that Li Ruotong has become the immortal emperor, his strength in all aspects is far better than before. He must act more carefully and not dare to be careless. Bo Chengli was actually very afraid of making the same mistake again. After all, he really couldn't afford to lose this time. Even if he was lucky enough to survive as he did back then, the northern cold immortal realm was no longer a place he could stay. Only by leaving other immortal realms could he avoid being found out. Between the ups and downs of thoughts, Bo Chengli took a few deep breaths, and a cynical smile appeared at the corner of his mouth again. Forget it, let's talk about the future later. Now that the magic has been accomplished, it's time to celebrate. Chun Ju, Sha Zhu, Chu Shang, Dong Yu, why don't you come and serve me quickly? Do you still need me to take the initiative to find you? As soon as these words came out, 4 women with different looks and graceful figures, cool clothes and charming fragrance, appeared in front of Bo Chengli. They are 4 sisters, known as the 4 Seasons Fairies in the outside world. The origin of their name is precisely because they have mastered a set of 4 season sword techniques. As long as they perform their combined attack skills, the power they exert can increase exponentially. With this swordsmanship, they gained quite a reputation in the northern cold immortal realm. In addition, their beauty was different, and they were deeply loved and sought after by the male monks. They became famous very early on. But the strange thing is that Immortal 4 seasons later seemed to disappear out of thin air and was rarely active in the public eye. In fact, they were secretly subdued by Bo Chengli using his skills. From then on, they stayed in Bo Chengli's harem and served Bo Chengli willingly in this peach forest. If most of the male monks knew about this, they would probably be so angry that they would vomit blood on the spot. Son, look what you said, aren't we here now? Sha Zhu, who was full of enthusiasm and charming, said with a charming smile. Haha, it's useless to talk anymore. Let me play a good song for you first, and then I'll take my time with the rest of the fine work. Bo Chengli said meaningfully. Sha Zhu's charming eyes were as silky as silk, and she said delicately, I obey, young master. Master, what about us? The other 3 sisters suddenly became anxious, as if the delicious food in their mouths was being taken away, they all started to fight for it. Bo Chengli laughed loudly, don't worry, just take turns. Whoever performs well will be greatly rewarded by me. Thank you, sir. Immediately, the 4 sisters couldn't wait to take turns performing, each one worked very hard, and their expressions were very selfless and dedicated. The breeze blows and the peach petals fall. The actions of 4 women and 1 man in the forest create an alternative and unique scene. A few days later, at the intersection of the 5 major domains, there is a vast ancient mountain range. The mountains are extremely majestic and stretch for hundreds of millions of miles. They are shrouded in hazy white mist and look very mysterious. This is a forbidden place in the northern cold immortal domain, known as the Taihang Forbidden Mountain. It is a special area that countless northern cold monks fear and hate. Just because one of the 4 major demon caves back then was located in the deepest part of the Taihang Forbidden Mountain. The demon cave is connected to the space passage, and it is from here that the demons from outside the realm invade the immortal realm. In addition to the Middle-earth Immortal Realm, there are demon caves in the Northern Han Immortal Realm, the Southern Heaven Immortal Realm, the Dongsheng Immortal Realm, and the Zai's Immortal Realm. It's like 4 nails, firmly nailed in all directions of the immortal world. However, at this time, the Taihang Forbidden Mountain suddenly erupted with violent shaking. I saw that the seal of the demon cave was rapidly disintegrating, and countless runes with terrifying auras emerged, but they disappeared and became invisible like the stars extinguishing. Boom, 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 boom. Fierce winds roared across the earth, billions of thunders exploded in the sky, and countless red lightnings intertwined among the vast clouds. There seemed to be cries of gods and demons between heaven and earth, and the scene was like the end of the world. To know, a disaster broke out many years ago. After the disaster was quelled, Lu Wangshu, the leader of Immortal Court, spent a lot of manpower and material resources to seal the exits of the 4 demon caves. During these long years, there was no movement in the 4 major demon caves, causing the monks in the immortal world to almost forget the existence of the demon caves. Unexpectedly, after many years, the demon cave located in the northern Han immortal territory was the first to experience changes. The seal that was left on it was now broken by a forbidden power. The seal of the demon cave completely dissipated, and an exit similar to a black hole slowly emerged. In an instant, foreign teams filed out one after another with amazing momentum. The number was very large, and the densely packed ferocious figures soon occupied the sky and the ground, exuding a majestic and sinister aura as vast as the sea. Even the void along the way was distorted and showed ripples. The main thing is, this group of alien creatures did not make any noise after they came out. Instead, they remained silent one by one and arranged themselves neatly into a square formation. They held weapons and held their heads high, with cold faces, as if they were waiting for review. The air around him seemed to be frozen, making it difficult to breathe. Buzz buzz. Within the demon cave, 15 tall alien creatures then walked out, all exuding powerful auras at the level of immortal emperors. They come from 3 races, namely the Yasha clan, the Squid clan, and the Earth Demon clan. The whole universe knows that there are 10 most powerful ethnic groups under Juyu's command, and they are the decisive force against Shenting. The 10 clans of Juyu are further subdivided into the highest clan, the upper 3 clans, the middle 3 clans and the lower 3 clans. The Yasha clan, the Squid clan, and the Earth Demon clan are the lower 3 clans. Although they are ranked among the last 3, they are at least the strongest among the 10 clans in Juyu. Their overall background and strength are very terrifying. At this moment, they invaded the northern cold immortal realm through the demon cave, and each was led by 5 king-level creatures from the clan. It is worth mentioning that within each race, there is a clear status and strict hierarchy. Only by reaching the realm of the immortal emperor can one be crowned king within the clan. Every king can command all major legions and has a very high status and power within the clan. Is this the inside of the Immortaland? It is said to be called the Northern Cold Immortaland. Among them, there was a Yaksha king wearing a metal armor, looking at the environment and tutting. His long red hair was spread behind him, his face was ugly, and his eyes were as chilling as poisonous snakes. This wretched place is so lacking in immortal energy that even if you give it to me for free, I won't give it to you. A burly earth demon king, covered in jet black scales and with a ferocious appearance, sneered. Yeah, this place is rubbish. The kings of other tribes echoed one after another, with contempt in their words. Suddenly, a king of the Squid Tai tribe noticed something, a thin layer of cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he quickly reminded. Shish, everyone, be quiet, that guy is coming out. The creatures of the Squid Tai tribe all have one thing in common, that is, they have squid faces, and they are huge and slightly bloated. Hear the words. The 15 leaders of the immortal emperor level all closed their mouths knowingly and stood with their hands down in awe, as if waiting for the arrival of some big shot. In addition to their 3 lower races, there is also a supreme race participating in this operation. Especially with the identity of the leader this time, the other 3 tribes cannot afford to offend him. In the Devil's Cave, bursts of strange sounds were heard. Immediately, amidst countless odd gazes, a petite and exquisite Lolita figure with twin ponytails slowly walked out. Window. _Taboola equals window. _Taboola. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Taboola below article feed. Placement. Below article feed. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 545. C547 Chaos in Bayhan Immortaland. The little loli has fair skin, a height of 1.5 meters, and is petite and cute. She wears a gorgeous and exquisite miniskirt. Her delicate pink hair is like cherry blossoms blooming in spring, woven into twin ponytails and hanging down in front of her chest. Her eyes are bright and clear, and her expression is a little arrogant and willful. She wears a princess crown that symbolizes her status, and her legs are covered with white stockings as thin as cicada wings. She walks lightly, exuding a youthful and lively atmosphere. It is such a little loli, but the 3 tribes present are all silent and in awe. Just because her origin is too terrifying. She is from the Asura tribe, the supreme tribe among the 10 tribes in Juyu. This is not the most frightening thing. The most headache for the 3 tribes is the other party's special status in the Asura tribe. Rosa, the most distinguished princess of the Holy Kingdom of Veruo, and her father is the current patriarch of the Asura tribe. No matter what kind of identity, they can't afford to offend. Logically, the Asura clan would not send out such a person. It was obvious that this arrogant princess insisted on asking her father to agree to her participation. At first, Rosa's father disagreed. After all, this was his most precious daughter, but in the end he could not persuade his daughter, so he reluctantly made concessions. You know, this invasion is of great significance. It was Juyu who planned to launch a devastating internal destruction of the immortal world, and decided to take action after careful planning by many parties. According to the provisions of the Saint Agreement, Juyu can only dispatch strong people below the Saint Realm, so the three tribes dispatched 5 kings of the Immortal Emperor level to lead their respective legions to invade the Beihan Immortaland. If the Beihan Immortaland is successfully occupied this time, the demon caves in the other 3 Immortalands will riot, and the power within the Immortaland will continue to disintegrate. At that time, the Juyu coalition will take the opportunity to attack outside the domain, and the two sides will cooperate inside and outside to completely take over the Immortaland. This is the plan of the Juyu High Level, which can be said to be malicious. At this moment, seeing the appearance of the Asura princess, all the creatures of the 3 tribes were in awe, lowered their proud heads, and said respectfully, "We are here to see Her Highness the Princess." The 15 leaders hurriedly performed the salute, not daring to be negligent in the slightest. This is an existence that they can look up to. Not to mention them, even if their clan leader comes, they must treat her with courtesy. Hee, this princess has finally arrived in the Immortaland. Rosa walked briskly with her hands behind her back, her pink ponytail swaying rhythmically with her steps, and the corners of her mouth raised a self-satisfied graceful arc. When she spoke, she revealed a pair of small and exquisite tiger teeth, which were obviously very healing and cute, but upon closer inspection, it inexplicably made people feel a sense of fear in their hearts. It was like a little devil who was afraid that the world would not be in chaos. "Princess, please be careful, we will always protect your safety." Behind Rosa, followed 2 powerful dukes, who were prominent and wore evil ghost masks on their faces, one black and one white. They are also at the level of Immortal Emperor, and their strength is more terrifying than that of the 15 leaders. In the Asura clan, any Asura who breaks through to the level of Immortal Emperor can be named Duke, which is a great honor. As the saying goes, the barons are the lowest and the dukes are the highest, so the status of the dukes can be seen. As a result, even the dukes with a respected status can only serve as personal guards behind Rosa. "Cut it out, with your little ability, you can't even beat this princess," Rosa said disdainfully. The 2 personal guards behind her were silent, with embarrassed looks behind their masks. They were not dissatisfied at all, but felt that what Rosa said was right, and the fact was indeed so. Because this princess of the Holy Kingdom of Veruo, the Asura clan's much-anticipated prodigy, is not only as simple as the realm of Immortal Emperor, but most importantly, she is also a spiritual power cultivator and also an extremely rare talisman formation dual cultivation. In the field of talismans, she is an 8th grade Taoist talisman master, and in the field of formations, she is an out-and-out 9th grade Taoist formation master. It is no exaggeration to say that Rosa can kill the 2 Duke-level guards with a few 8th grade Taoist talismans, and then set up a 9th grade Taoist formation to wipe out all the 3 tribes' coalition forces present. The means are terrifying. This is also the biggest reason why Rosa's father thought again and again and finally agreed to his little daughter's request. Although conquering Beihan Immortaland is the most critical part of the plan, the difficulty coefficient is actually the smallest. With Rosa's ability, she will definitely be able to take it easily. In this way, as the clan leader, he can also naturally raise his daughter's status and pave a better way for her future personal career. In public and private, he should agree to it. With Her Royal Highness the Princess in charge of the overall situation this time, it must be foolproof. The red-haired Yaksha king flattered. "That's right, compared with the last invasion, our advantage this time is very large, and the natives here can't stop it at all." The Earth Demon King waved his mace and said excitedly. There was a massive invasion of the Demon Cave in the past, but the space channel was not stable at that time, which resulted in the transmission of almost all 9 nether cultivators below the Immortal Emperor level. Therefore, even though that action was unexpected, it was still suppressed by the Immortal Emperors of the Immortal Realm. Later, over the long years, the holy creatures of various races continued to recast the space channel, making it extremely strong and able to withstand the crossing of multiple Immortal Emperor-level strongmen. This is how the current situation came about. Everyone, according to the insider, only the North Cold Immortal Realm has not had an Immortal Emperor, so it is the easiest to capture. According to our current powerful lineup, it is as easy as a dragon crushing an ant, said a Squid King with full confidence. The insider in the immortal world he mentioned is naturally Yu Washang. However, because Yu Washang cut off the contact in time, this information has a serious lag. Therefore, the top leaders of Juyu still think that the North Cold Immortal Realm is the only one in the immortal world that has not had an immortal emperor, and it is the easiest to capture. Humph, this princess came here for fun. If it wasn't fun, would this princess come all the way to this broken place? Besides, taking over the North Cold Immortal Realm is only the first step. This princess has to fight with the strongest group of cultivators in the immortal world to be satisfied. Rosa folded her arms and raised her chin, her expression showing strong confidence and style. Your Highness is right, the leaders quickly echoed. Don't dawdle, start the attack now. You must conquer the entire Bahan immortal domain as quickly as possible. The faster the better. If anyone dares to be lazy, don't blame me for being rude. In everyone's eyes, this little loli with 2 ponytails put one hand on her waist and pointed with one hand, commanding. Yes, sir. The 15 leaders did not dare to object and took action one after another. Boom, the mighty coalition of the 3 tribes swarmed and headed towards the 5 surrounding domains. At the same time, the changes that occurred in the Taihang Forbidden Mountain were naturally noticed by the cultivators of the 5 domains. However, the strength of the coalition of the 3 tribes was very strong, and there were 15 Immortal Emperor-level leaders leading them. Even if they wanted to resist, they were powerless. Soon, the 5 domains fell one after another. It can be said that the lives of the people were charred, blood flowed like a river, and countless cultivators died tragically or were enslaved. This is not over yet. The 3 tribes' coalition army swept towards the surrounding large areas like locusts. Wherever they went, no grass grew, and the scene was horrible. One large area after another was easily conquered and blood-bathed, and the war quickly spread throughout the Bahan immortal realm. Oh my god, where did all these monsters come from? Fellow Taoists, the seal of the demon cave has been opened, and the demons from outside the domain have invaded our Bahan immortal realm. Damn it, let's fight these beasts. Master, don't die, master. In a certain city, a chubby little boy lay beside an old figure who was half kneeling on the ground, crying bitterly. The old man remained half kneeling on the ground, his head drooped weakly, blood was flowing from the corners of his mouth, and he held a blood-stained silver spear in his hand. At this moment, he had already died. Around it, there were densely packed corpses of the Earth Demon clan. Each corpse had a clear and fearful face, and there was a big hole in the chest, and blood was pouring out. Under the setting sun, it rendered a touch of tragic color. Just now, the old man witnessed the brutal behavior of the Earth Demon clan army. He was furious and fought back with a spear in his hand. He did not hesitate to use forbidden techniques to kill an entire elite force of the Earth Demon clan. In the end, he half knelt on the ground and died of exhaustion. That old man, could it be Shu Nanshan, who was known as the Spear King in his early years? Not far away, a cultivator who recognized the old man's origin trembled. Yes, he is the famous Shu Spear King. Unexpectedly, in order to protect us, he is now, another cultivator choked with sobs and said with a sour nose. Gun Emperor Shu Nanshan, also known as Shu Gun Emperor, made a great name for himself in Bahan immortal domain in his early years. He was an extremely powerful immortal emperor. At the same level, almost no immortal emperor could block his gun. His strength was extremely terrifying. Later, knowing that there was no hope of breakthrough, he took in an apprentice to pass on his skills and gradually faded out of the public sight. Unexpectedly, he encountered an army of the Earth Demon clan that wanted to massacre the city. Gun Emperor Shu couldn't bear to see the tragic death of innocent people, so he decided to give it a try. He destroyed this elite team with his own strength and saved countless people in the city, but he died in the end. His death was for the righteousness of the human race, and all the cultivators present were moved. Junior respectfully sent Gun Emperor Shu to heaven. A young man held back his inner grief and bowed. Once this was said, it was like a chain reaction. Countless men and women responded, bowed in unison, and their choked voices with crying echoed over the city, making people tearful. Respectfully send off Emperor Shu to heaven. At the same time, this similar tragic scene was staged in Bahan immortal domain. Many powerful men who once dominated the world put aside their personal grudges and joined hands to resist the attack of the 3 tribes' coalition forces. Some died, some were injured, and the battle was very tragic. Chapter 546, C548 The Deterrent Power of the Immortal Emperor. Great Domain of Creation, Li Family, inside the Moon Palace. At this time, a beautiful woman with white skin and cold temperament looked at the jade slip in her hand that had not responded for a long time, with deep anger in her eyes. What a joke, this is the nth time, why is the Immortal Court still reluctant to decide on the candidate for the Northern Cold Immortal Lord? Li Ruotong frowned. She did want to become the Northern Cold Immortal Lord at first, but later changed her mind after a brief contact with Yi Junline. After all, what virtue and ability can she have to compete with such a person for this position? In Li Ruotong's cognition, an ancient existence like Yi Junlin, who has unfathomable cultivation and a deep background, is the most suitable candidate for the Northern Cold Immortal Lord. What's more, her Immortal Emperor weapon was given by someone else. Li Ruotong knew this truth very well, so she had no face to fight for this position. Immediately, she wrote a letter to the Immortal Court, hoping that the Immortal Court would canonize Yi Junlin as the Northern Cold Immortal Lord. Because once she becomes the Lord of Beihan Immortal, she will have the permission to open the 9th grade Dao formation and better protect the people in Beihan Immortal Realm. But strangely, every time she sent a message, it would sink into the sea and there would be no news. This made Li Ruotong both puzzled and angry. She even suspected that there was a villain in the Immortal Court who was interfering and intercepting every letter she sent out. Damn it, who is so shameless that he secretly tripped me up? Li Ruotong became more and more angry as she thought about it, thinking about going to the Immortal Court of the Middle-earth Immortal Realm in person one day to get to the bottom of it. In fact, her guess was not nonsense, there was indeed a black hand interfering, and that person was Yu Washeng. Yu Washeng was guilty, and he hated Yi Junlin because of the clone, so he used his power to secretly intercept Li Ruotong's message, so as not to let the news reach the highest person in the Immortal Court. Just when Li Ruotong was angry, anxious shouts rang out outside. "Ancestor, ancestor, it's not good." Hearing this, Li Ruotong looked angry, and flashed to the outside of the Moon Palace and looked down at the clansmen below, and said coldly, "Asshole, why are you so flustered? What's the matter? Tell me." The current head of the Li family, along with a group of elders, said in panic. "Report to the ancestor, something big happened outside. Not long ago, a riot broke out in the demon cave of Taihang Forbidden Mountain. Countless extraterritorial demons invaded Beihan Immortaland. It is said that they have conquered hundreds of large domains, and even a group of extraterritorial demons are rushing towards my creation domain. It is estimated that they will arrive soon." Hearing this, Li Ruotong's face suddenly changed, and her beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. "What did you say?" At this moment, her heart seemed to be overturned. "I originally thought that the demon cave was sealed many years ago, and the foreign demons could no longer force their way in, but I didn't expect that this day would come. This is too sudden. Is it only the Beihan Immortal Realm, or are there such phenomena in the other 3 demon caves?" Li Ruotong frowned, vaguely smelling a hint of conspiracy. "Forget it, the most urgent task is to quickly stop the invasion of the foreign demons." Boom 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 boom. Suddenly, the entire creation realm was trembling, and a sense of oppression surged from the outside world like a tide. A large group of Yaksha monks holding tridents and flapping their wings invaded the creation realm aggressively. Looking at the panicked human race below, their ugly faces were full of deep cruelty, and their red eyes were like beasts, extremely bloodthirsty. Seeing this, the head of the family and a group of elders felt their scalps go numb, and they said in a trembling voice, "Ancestor, they are coming." Faced with the sudden attack of the Yaksha army, the cultivators of the creation domain were very panicked. The Yaksha cultivators inside were generally very strong, and the lowest cultivation was the Immortal King realm. The leading immortal venerable strongman, with the unique battle formation of the Yaksha clan, burst out with powerful power, crushing all the way. Ah! The screams came one after another, and blood flowed for thousands of miles. "Submit, or die!" A Yaksha clan strongman of the marquee level, holding a silver-white trident, his eyes shot out cold light that split the sky, and his whole body exuded the aura of the immortal venerable level, and he looked down. "We humans would rather die in battle than surrender." A middle-aged scholar with a righteous spirit, holding a bronze ruler about 10 feet long, shouted solemnly. "HMPH, then go to hell." The Yaksha clan warrior roared, raised the trident high, and the trident burst into a brilliant silver luster, aiming at the middle-aged scholar to give a fatal blow. Although they are both in the realm of immortal venerable, it is confident that its strength is stronger than this stinky scholar. "Let's see who dares to act rashly." At this time, a cold and majestic female voice sounded between heaven and earth, followed by a boundless imperial power spreading, and soon enveloped the entire Haoran domain. This is the breath of the immortal emperor. In the creation domain, all the Yaksha clan cultivators felt this amazing imperial power, and the arrogant momentum just now disappeared, replaced by a deep sense of fear. According to Wang's intelligence, isn't it said that there is no immortal emperor in Beihan Immortal Domain? What's the situation now? Playing with us? No, don't. The Yaksha clan warrior with the cultivation of immortal venerable suddenly felt a terrifying force coming, and shouted in fear. Bang! His entire body suddenly exploded, turning into a shower of blood, and his soul was completely destroyed. In the vast sky, a bright full moon slowly emerged. There was a woman with a cold temperament like a moon god, with a face as cold as frost, and she stepped out with a sense of oppression. The full moon like a jade plate quickly shrank, hanging on the back of her head, and her exquisite body was shrouded in haze. Under the moonlight, it is extremely sacred. Look, it's Immortal Emperor Hao Yu. The monks' eyes lit up and they shouted excitedly. No, there really is an immortal emperor sitting in this ghost place. Let's retreat quickly. Many yaksha were so frightened that their scalps were numb and their bodies were covered with cold. Even if they are the strongest black evil army under the king's command, they cannot withstand the terrifying methods of an immortal emperor. After all, everyone under the immortal emperor is an ant. Want to escape? You'll all die. Li Ruotong's eyes showed a cold light, and his murderous intention had reached its peak. As he raised his hand, the surging power of the bright moon divided into multiple waves and swept away, attacking the yaksha monks in a targeted manner. Ah! Piercing screams rang out from everywhere. Before these monks from the yaksha tribe could escape, they were wiped out one by the power of the coming bright moon, including many powerful men at the feudal level who were cultivated as immortals. For a time, blood flowed like a river. Seeing this scene, the monks in the creation domain clapped their hands and cheered ecstatically. The lost confidence was regained again, and the overall morale seemed much higher. This is the confidence that an immortal emperor brings. Otherwise, how can we say that the immortal emperor has the strongest foundation? The reason is simple, because he has the absolute power to dominate the battle. The power of the ancestors. The members of the Li family were filled with infinite pride when they witnessed Li Ruotong's great display of power, and they shouted excitedly. King, save us! The remaining yaksha monks cried out in despair, and then were wiped out by the power of the bright moon. After doing all this, Li Ruotong frowned, feeling vaguely uneasy inside. Could it be that the king these evil beasts are calling is? However, I haven't had time to think about it. Rumble. In the distant horizon, billions of terrifying thunders suddenly sounded, and red and black lightnings kept intertwining, creating an extremely horrifying scene. In an instant, 5 tall and ferocious figures, holding tridents and carrying a torrential aura of evil, flapped their green flesh wings and flew over quickly into 5 bright streams of light. The majestic imperial power they released soon covered the entire vast territory. Suddenly, the cheers fell into silence, and the great realm of creation fell silent for an instant. Countless monks had horrified faces. Looking at the terrifying figure filled with the power of the 5 emperors in the sky, they almost felt suffocated. Immortal emperors are all immortal emperors. Many people were roaring crazily in their hearts, and their bodies were as cold as if they were falling into an abyss. My king's black evil army was actually slaughtered. King Yaksha, who was wearing a pitch-black battle armor and a king's helmet, felt that his subordinates were all out of breath, and said with an ugly expression. No wonder I just sensed the aura of the immortal emperor. It turns out there is a human immortal emperor sitting here. Another burly King Yaksha said in a deep voice. It seems that this information is not accurate. The red-haired King Yasha stared at Li Ruotong and sneered. In that case, let's just kill her to vent our anger. Hey, look at this tender-skinned one, I'm going to eat her alive. You guy, you can't eat alone, everyone who sees you also has a share. That's natural. The words spoken by the 5 Yaksha kings were full of cruelty. Although they were surprised that an immortal emperor appeared in the northern cold immortal territory, they didn't take it too seriously because they felt that Li Ruotong's cultivation was still shallow and he was not their joint enemy at all. You know, unlike Li Ruotong who is an immortal emperor at the 1st level, the 5 of them are all strong men at the immortal emperor at the 5th level. Isn't it easy to kill a mere immortal emperor at the 1st level? Chapter 547. C549 The Gap of the Crown of the Immortal Way. Seeing the gathering of 5 Yaksha kings with the cultivation of immortal emperors, Li Ruotong's eyes flashed with surprise. This is completely different from the level of the extraterritorial demons that came out of the last demon cave riot. Li Ruotong still remembers that the strongest extraterritorial demon that ran out of the Taihang Forbidden Mountain Demon Cave was only at the level of Immortal Venerable. As a result, there are 5 extraterritorial demons at the level of Immortal Emperor this time. In comparison, the difference in the lineup is very large. But soon, Li Ruotong regained his composure, a raging war fire ignited in his eyes, and his momentum rose steadily, as if there was no end. The cold voice, with a sense of oppression, strongly reverberated between heaven and earth. You evil beasts, why don't you roll over and die? Even if the enemy has the advantage of number in cultivation, Li Ruotong is not afraid, and his eyebrows are filled with the belief of invincibility. Seeing that the other party dared to challenge openly, the 5 Yaksha kings were stunned, and then laughed in anger, their eyes full of fierceness. Human immortal emperor, we guarantee that you will die miserably. After saying that, they all released their full aura, and the cultivation of the 5th level of the immortal emperor was undoubtedly revealed. Then, they flapped their wings, blowing up a mighty gale, turning into a stream of light of different colors, and launched a fierce attack on Li Ruotong. Li Ruotong immediately sacrificed the 7 treasures Linglong Tower, which was obtained from Yi Junlin before, and the original owner was the Soul Heaven Immortal Emperor. Swish! The 7 treasures Linglong Tower emerged from the top of his head, emitting colorful and gorgeous light, magnificent. In an instant, the power of Li Ruotong's moves was increased to a certain extent. Boom boom boom, the exploding light balls appeared one after another, and the energy airflow was magnificent. The red-haired Yaksha king said jokingly, "Haha, you don't think that you can compete with us with just a low-grade immortal emperor weapon, do you? Open your eyes and see clearly, our equipment and weapons are all of the middle-grade immortal emperor weapon level, how can you fight us?" Another companion sneered. In terms of cultivation, they are stronger than Li Ruotong, and their weapons are also 1 level higher. No matter how you look at it, they have won. At this time, seeing the 5 immortal emperors of the Yaksha clan besieging Li Ruotong together, the hearts of the cultivators in the creation realm were raised to their throats. Each of them showed anxiety or worry, fearing that the Haoyu immortal emperor would be defeated by them. Because once defeated, the consequences would be disastrous. Dad, the ancestor will win, right? In the Li family, a little girl about 8 years old, with 2 buns on her head, looked up at her father beside her, her clear and bright eyes full of worry, and asked timidly. In the Li family, Li Ruotong is like a god. Everyone in the family, from the elders to the children, regards her as an invincible existence. Now, seeing her ancestor being besieged by 5 monsters, the little girl feels very uncomfortable. Her father was silent for a while, then gritted his teeth and nodded, his eyes firm. Yes, he will win. Our ancestor will win. This is the belief of all the Li family members. The ancestor they regard as a god will never be defeated by those monsters. At the same time, the battle situation is precarious. Don't struggle anymore, you can't beat us. Haha, it's the limit to be able to hold on with this kind of cultivation until now, right? Stinky woman, we will let you die in humiliation next. Facing the siege of the 5 Yaksha kings, Li Ruotong was at an absolute disadvantage, but strangely, she was not panicked at all. Because her ability is far more than that. The previous battle was just a measure of the gap in cultivation. Facts have proved that if an ordinary newly promoted immortal emperor was besieged by the 5 Yaksha kings, he would definitely face the fate of being unable to resist and dying. Unfortunately, she is not that kind of ordinary immortal emperor. Haha, if you are only this capable, then you are the ones who should die. Li Ruotong sneered. Stinky woman, you dare to die when you are about to die. Before the red-haired Yaksha king finished speaking, as if he saw an incredible scene, his pupils suddenly shrank, his face showed horror, and he exclaimed, "What is this?" I saw a terrifying phantom like a crown condensed on the top of Li Ruotong's head, and the power of the whole body instantly rose wildly. In an instant, the whole person's temperament became different, which was completely different from before. It seems that she is the sky that dominates all living beings. Boom! A vast sense of oppression enveloped the whole scene, blocking the entire sky. The 5 Yaksha kings only felt their whole bodies sink, and the immortal power in their bodies stagnated and became difficult to mobilize. This feeling is like being suppressed invisibly. Is this the crown of the great heavenly rank immortal path? The red-haired Yaksha king's scalp numbed, and he dared not speak. The crown of the immortal path is a unique symbol and means of the immortal emperor. It is divided into the small heavenly rank, the middle heavenly rank, and the great heavenly rank. In general, most people have achieved the small heavenly rank. They only need to condense more than 10 million immortal venerable laws, and after successfully being promoted to the immortal emperor, they can obtain this level of immortal path crown. The middle heavenly rank is more than 20 million immortal venerable laws. This difficulty is very great, enough to exclude most immortal venerables. If you really do it, you can have the crown of the middle heavenly rank immortal path. In the future, when facing immortal emperors who are not as good as you can have a natural suppression effect and have a certain combat advantage. As for the great heavenly immortal crown, the conditions for obtaining it are extremely harsh and difficult. The premise requires a number of perfect immortal lord laws to meet this condition. Therefore, 99% of the immortal lords cannot do this. After all, it is too time-consuming and energy-consuming, just like a mortal taking an iron rod and grinding it into a needle. In everyone's eyes, it is either a madman or a fool. Although the great heavenly immortal crown is the most difficult to form, once it is successfully condensed, it is equivalent to the king of the immortal emperor realm, and it has absolute suppression on the immortal emperor who is not as good as himself in this aspect. Cross-level challenges are like eating and drinking, and are destined to be the top figures among the immortal emperors. This is also the reason why the red-haired Yaksha king and others were so shocked and horrified when they saw Li Ruotong offering the great heavenly immortal crown. Even in the Yaksha clan, there are very few who can achieve this achievement from ancient times to the present. And each of them is now one of the strongest in the holy realm. Impossible, how could there be a person like you in this broken place? The Yaksha king in black armor said in a lost voice. With the terrifying crown shadow on her head, Li Ruotong's momentum became unmatched, and a sarcastic arc appeared at the corner of her mouth. That's because you have too little knowledge. Then, she raised her hand and the more terrifying power of the bright moon enveloped the other party. Not good. The Yaksha king in black armor had a strong warning in his heart and tried his best to resist. At the same time, it also released the crown of the immortal way, which was only the most ordinary small heaven level. In front of Li Ruotong's great heaven level immortal crown, it seemed so small and fragile. Boom! At a glance, the Yaksha king was killed, and the black armor covering his body was completely shattered, and his flesh and blood were blasted to pieces, and he died. Hiss! Witnessing this scene, the other four companions took a deep breath, trembling with fear, their eyes full of fear. A powerful person of the 5th level of the immortal emperor was killed in one move. This is still under the premise of weapon advantage. You can imagine how terrifying the amplification effect brought by the great heavenly crown of the immortal path is. Not only will there be a surge in one's own strength, but it can also form a certain suppression effect on the enemy, which is simply a full advantage. Among them, the red-haired Yaksha king swallowed hard, with only one thought in his mind. Damn it, who told me before that the North Cold immortal domain was the easiest to attack? Chapter 548. C550 Who gave the information? At this moment, the red-haired Yaksha king just wanted to curse the immortal and insider who secretly leaked the information. It was said that there was no immortal emperor in this broken place, but now there is one, and it is the best among the immortal emperors. It's really disgusting. After the one-hit kill, Li Ruotong's confidence increased instantly. It seems that she still underestimated the amplification effect of the great heavenly immortal crown. For so many years, she has been suffering in the realm of the immortal venerable, and has condensed a perfect number of immortal venerable laws with great difficulty. Finally, at this moment, she has made a huge harvest. For a while, Li Ruotong's heart was full of mixed feelings. How about we retreat first? Wait until everyone is gathered before dealing with her. Another Yaksha king with green skin swallowed his saliva and whispered to his companions around him. I also think it's better to retreat first, wait for the kings of the Earth Demon clan and the Squid Tai clan to come, and then unite with them to kill this woman. Agree. The remaining 4 Yaksha kings communicated secretly, and they had the idea of retreating in their hearts. There was no way. Li Ruotong's deterrence was too strong. Even if her cultivation and weapons were not as good as theirs, she could suppress them with the advantage of the crown of immortal path alone. Want to escape? All of you stay. Sensing the slight sound transmission fluctuations on the opposite side, Li Ruotong's eyes burst into a group of cold light. Knowing that these 4 extraterritorial demons had already thought of escaping, he immediately took action to kill them in one fell swoop. Boom! The crown of immortal path on her head burst into billions of rays of light, making Li Ruotong look like a peerless empress, looking down on the world. Feeling the extremely heavy pressure on their bodies, the 4 Yaksha kings were shocked and angry, because they could not leave. Let's fight this bitch. The green-skinned Yaksha king's eyes were bloodshot, holding the trident and gathering endless murderous aura and killing intent, and performing the unique moves of the Yaksha clan. The other companions also jumped up and went all out without reservation. Moonlight slash. Li Ruotong's whole body was glowing, her temperament became more noble and cold, her skin was crystal clear and shiny, and her slender jade fingers moved countless bright moonlight. In an instant, a silver-white crescent light wheel was formed, and then with the force of thunder, it slashed at the green-skinned Yaksha king through the air. Ah! The guy used all his strength to block the attack, but his state was suppressed too hard, and he had no advantage. He was directly cut into 2 by the huge moon wheel, and blood flew everywhere. Another strong man of the 5th level of the immortal emperor died. Seeing this situation, the other 3 Yaksha kings were terrified. They didn't expect Li Ruotong to be so strong. Killing 2 immortal emperors in a row, immortal emperor Hao Yu is simply invincible. The cultivators of the creation domain were excited and surprised. At first, they were worried that Li Ruotong, as a newly promoted immortal emperor, would be unable to withstand the joint siege of 5 alien immortal emperors, but now it seems that they were worrying too much. It must be said that he was able to kill 2 of the 5, and his strength is beyond doubt. Li Ruotong's attack continued. The 3 Yaksha kings struggled to support, and the defense line they formed was on the verge of collapse. Thunder Fang, a Yaksha king, wearing azure armor and looking mighty and domineering, burst out countless lightning flashes from the trident in his hand, and the electric current sizzled. Suddenly, 4 terrifying lightning rays shaped like fangs stabbed fiercely as if aiming at prey, with a terrifying aura. A trick, Li Ruotong raised his hand and made a seal, and a round of bright moon like a jade plate appeared in front of him, easily blocking the 4 terrifying thunder teeth. Then she struck back, and a vast force of the bright moon shot out like a shock wave. Not good. The Yaksha king in azure armor was horrified and quickly offered an ancient shield to resist. As a result, the shield broke with a crack, and finally the power of the bright moon penetrated his body crazily, making his flesh and blood and internal organs like mud. The Yaksha king died with a painful face. In the eyes of everyone, a tall corpse with blood dripping fell from the clouds. King Mila, another companion exclaimed, the opponent's strength is at least ranked second among them. He was killed like this. Don't worry, you go down to accompany it. Li Ruotong was in high spirits, urging the 7 treasures Linglong Tower to kill it. Damn human immortal emperor, I will fight you. The Yaksha king burned the blood in his body crazily and roared hysterically. Unfortunately, its resistance was doomed to be in vain. It was crushed to pieces by the 7 treasures Linglong Tower and its soul was destroyed. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Li Ruotong was shrouded in a layer of white moonlight, sacred and beautiful, with skin as white as jade, and even every strand of hair was glowing. She had killed 4 Yaksha immortal emperors, and her imperial power was even greater. The ancestor is invincible. The Li family burst into cheers, and every member of the family burst into tears of excitement, feeling extremely proud. Witnessing the death of 4 companions in succession, the remaining red-haired Yaksha king was anxious. It was the strongest of the 5 kings. Because it had the crown of the middle heaven, the suppression effect on itself would be smaller, so it could barely hold on until now. But now, it is the next one. Damn it, I have secretly sent out a distress signal, why haven't those guys come yet? Is it intentional? The red-haired Yaksha king said anxiously. As early as when it saw that the situation was not good, it secretly used a communication talisman made by Her Royal Highness the Princess to pass the news that the human race immortal emperor was guarding this place to the leaders of the other 2 coalition forces, hoping to let these leaders know as soon as possible come to support. As a result, it hasn't come until now. You are the only one left. Li Ruotong sneered, activating the power of the bright moon to wipe out the last threat. It's over. The red-haired Yaksha king felt cold all over and complained secretly. At this moment, powerful immortal emperor-level auras were rapidly approaching here. Rumble. The clouds were thick with lightning and thunder, and horrific visions occurred one after another. 10 terrifying alien figures descended here, carrying vast imperial power, and the gathered momentum was as turbulent as the sea, unstoppable. In an instant, the entire realm of creation was trembling violently, as if it could not bear the appearance of so many immortal emperors. They are all immortal emperors. A monk said with shock on his face. Have the demons from outside the territory become so strong? Our northern Han immortal territory is in danger. Can immortal Emperor Hao Yu stop him now? It was obvious that those who came were the kings of the Earth Demon clan and the Squid Tai clan. When they saw the scene in front of them, they all showed a look of astonishment on their faces. The immortal crown of the great celestial realm. How is it possible? An Earth Demon king named Puxi almost lost his mind and muttered. It really surprises me that such a peerless talent can exist in such a poor place. A Squid Tai clan immortal emperor named Dolly who wore a black gold crown said in a deep voice. It's all because of her that our Yaksha tribe lost 4 immortal emperors in a row. You must be careful. Seeing the reinforcements arriving, the red-haired Yaksha king felt relieved and shouted with confidence. Li Ruotong was silent for a moment and said coldly, in order to invade our northern Han immortal territory, you group of extraterrestrial demons are really generous. She originally thought that the opponent's deployment of 5 immortal emperors would be the limit, but who would have thought that the total number would be 15? If she hadn't killed 4 of them before, and now there were only 11 left, then the pressure she would face would be even greater. At this time, Li Ruotong still didn't know that the real terror was not the leaders in front of him, but Princess Rosa from the Asura clan. Chapter 549. C551 Taking advantage of others' misfortune. At the same time, in the Taihang Forbidden Mountain, a little Lolita with pink twin ponytails, white skin, delicate and cute face, squatted on the ground with her cheeks in her hands, stretching out her fingers and carefully sketching out some pattern. Until the last stroke was completed, the little Lolita raised her hand and slapped the mysterious pattern. As the vast immortal power poured in, it seemed that some kind of formation was completely activated. The area of 1,000,000 miles was shrouded in the layout, and dense tadpole-like runes flowed between heaven and earth, with a strange glow. Done. Rosa stood up and clapped her hands, looking at her masterpiece, and said with a proud face. Just now, she personally arranged a 9th-grade Taoist formation, called the World-Destroying Tribulation Fire Formation. It is no exaggeration. Even if a peerless strong man of the 9th heaven of the immortal emperor stepped in, he would be burned to ashes by the endless tribulation fire. This is the terrifying method of the 9th-grade Taoist formation master. A formation master who has reached this level already has great strategic value, which is often not comparable to a top immortal emperor. A complete 9th-grade Taoist formation can even kill a group of immortal emperors. That's right, a group of immortal emperors. It is enough to show the horror of Rosa as a 9th-grade Taoist formation master. With the formation of Her Royal Highness, even if the strong men of the immortal court come to attack, I believe they can be defeated. The guard wearing a black mask flattered. Humph, this princess has heard that there are two most difficult guys in the immortal court. One is the culprit who destroyed my 9 Nether Alliance that year, the formation master Lu Wangshu, and the other is the undefeated immortal emperor Tong Wudi, who is known as the strongest melee in the immortal world. This princess is currently unable to beat the guy named Lu in formation attainments, but if I face the guy named Tong Wudi here, this princess thinks I still have some chance of winning. Rosa folded her hands, raised her snow-white chin, and said proudly. Lu Wangshu is the supreme master of formations, his mental power has long surpassed the realm of the immortal emperor, and with his means far beyond those of a 9th-grade Taoist formation master, the formation he arranged can even threaten a saint. Therefore, Rosa knows her own limitations, and she is absolutely no match for the other party at the moment. But a strong man like Tong Wudi who fights in close combat, even if his individual strength is extremely strong, can frighten the immortal emperors of Juyu, but if he accidentally steps into the world-destroying fire formation, his life and death may be unpredictable. Rosa is here to play on the surface, but in fact she also wants to make a shocking record, eliminate a great enemy for Juyu, and give face to the Asura clan and her father behind her. The world doesn't know yet, this seemingly sweet and cute little loli, but actually black-bellied, is rubbing her hands and wants to make a big fuss in the immortal world. At the same time, far away in the great domain of creation, a fierce battle is breaking out. Li Ruotong fought with 11 alien immortal emperors, and the sky was dark and the sun and the moon were upside down. Soul-destroying technique, evil sky net technique, blood underworld finger, destruction of all souls. One by one, the most powerful moves were used, bursting out with strange and terrifying killing power, like a raging wave crushing Li Ruotong. It is hard to imagine that 11 veteran masters of the 5th level of the immortal emperor besieged a newly promoted immortal emperor. They should have been absolutely sure, but they were very struggling throughout the process and failed to suppress the opponent. The reason for this is entirely because that person has the immortal crown of the great heavenly rank, which is the standard configuration of the strongest among the immortal emperors. Damn, is this the difference in the immortal crown? This woman is only the 1st level of the immortal emperor, but she can suppress us to this extent, the demon king named Padexi said with embarrassment. Its immortal crown is of the middle heaven level, and is at the same level as the squid king Dali wearing a black gold crown and the red-haired Yaksha king. They are also the 3 strongest leaders of the 3 tribes. But even so, facing the suppression of the great heavenly immortal crown, it can only barely maintain 60% of its own strength. This is still under the advantage of cultivation. If it is also the 1st level of the immortal emperor like Li Ruotong, the strength it can exert now is estimated to be about 30%. As for the immortal crown of the small heaven level, it is even more of a joke in this battle. It is completely like a tiger turning into a cat, and its combat effectiveness has been greatly reduced. Dali is bloated, the tentacles of the squid face are swaying flexibly, and a pair of dark green eyes flashing cold light, and he said in a deep voice, "Everyone, this human immortal emperor is shallow after all. Even if we drag her down, we must drag her down. That's right, let's be careful and don't fall into her trap." The red-haired Yaksha king raised his trident and shouted at the top of his voice. It is true that Li Ruotong is very strong, but as long as they rely on their numerical advantage and continue to consume, they will have a chance to take advantage of them over time. There is always a limit to human power, and the Immortal Emperor is no exception. HMPH, a bunch of rabble. Li Ruotong's eyes were cold, and she once again tried her best to burst out a killing move. The 11 alien Immortal Emperors on the opposite side spit out blood and looked shocked. Li Ruotong seemed to be extremely strong, but in fact she was very anxious inside. She relied on the advantage of the crown of Immortal Tao to fight all the way to now, but the immortal power in her body has been consumed. If the battle is not ended early, then her situation will be dangerous. If I were the Immortal Lord Beihan, it would be great. I would definitely not be so embarrassed. I could directly activate a 9th grade Taoist formation to kill these evil beasts. Quote. Thinking of this, Li Ruotong secretly resented herself. Unfortunately, there is no if. Just when her energy was seriously distracted, an extremely secret and strange wave spread out and enveloped her silently. Li Ruotong's expression changed, and he felt something strange suddenly appeared in his mind. There seemed to be a man's voice that kept ringing in her mind like a devil's whisper, fall in love with me crazily. Damn it, what's going on? Li Ruotong gritted her teeth, her heart trembling. What was happening now made her feel even more horrified than facing the siege of the Immortal Emperors. Invisibly, there seemed to be a strange force that wanted to forcefully change her perception. Li Ruotong really wanted to stabilize her mind, but she was currently under siege and had no time to think about herself. It was a time of distraction, so she was helpless in the face of this change. What's wrong with this woman? It doesn't look right. Don't worry so much, this is a good opportunity. Right, the red-haired Yaksha King and others seized the opportunity and suppressed Li Ruotong, intending to kill this woman in one fell swoop. Suddenly, a clear male voice spoke in the dark, everyone, there is no point in continuing the fight. Listen to my advice and take a step back. I can let you take the northern cold immortal territory unscathed. As soon as these words came out, the 11 foreign immortal emperors, who immediately gave a headache, had a look of surprise in their eyes. Who dares to say such nonsense? You know, Li Ruotong, this great enemy alone, can make the last few of them die here. It would undoubtedly be a great thing if we could win unscathed. Who are you? Stop hiding, I know where you are, why don't you show up quickly? Earth Demon King Puxi looked deeply and responded following the sound transmission. Everyone, I have a special status and it is inconvenient for me to show up openly. Please forgive me. The man's voice was laced with a hint of amusement. You hide your head and show your tail, you are so sneaky, you still dare to ask us to stop the war, are you worthy? That's right, you even boasted that you would help us take down the northern cold immortal territory unscathed. I asked you, can you deal with this human immortal emperor now? HMPH, you'll be dead by the time we finish taking care of her. The other alien emperors were dissatisfied. Haha, I can indeed handle her. Now she only listens to my words. If you don't believe me, take a closer look. Hear the words. The hearts of the alien emperors jumped and they all looked with wide eyes. I saw Li Ruotong, who just now looked unyielding and with a murderous look on his face, suddenly turned numb and said with hollow eyes, my little girl Li Ruotong, I will obey the master's arrangements in everything. Even King Yaksha and the others, who were used to big scenes, were frightened to death by this strange scene. What's going on? Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode, thumb speed 01, container, tabula below article thumbnail, 300 times 250 feet, placement, below article thumbnail minus 300 times 250 feet, target _type, mix. Chapter 550. C552 I am proud of being a gigolo. After all, after seeing how powerful Li Ruotong was, they didn't think that Li Ruotong would surrender on her own initiative. Who would have thought that the other party would actually obey that mysterious man? But for some reason, I always felt that something was strange. Everyone, you see, I can make her stop attacking you, but the premise is that you must cooperate with me. The voice continued to sound with full confidence, as if everything was under his control. Hearing this, all the alien immortal emperors were moved. Although they felt that they could defeat Li Ruotong in the end, no one dared to guarantee that they would survive when that moment came. This is what they are most worried about. At present, not only can they stop this fight, but they can also take over the Beihan immortal realm. Why not do it? Okay, we agree to your cooperation. The Earth Demon King Peptide West pondered. When it said this, no alien immortal emperor objected, and it was obvious that everyone agreed. Because if they continued to fight, their lives would be in danger. Haha, that's right, please come to me to discuss important matters. The owner of the voice gave Li Ruotong an order, and Li Ruotong immediately did it, turning around and heading to another place. What should we do now? Don't worry about it, let's go first. I'm very curious, who can subdue such a woman? After making up their minds, the 11 alien immortal emperors followed one after another, wanting to see who has such great ability. At this time, the cultivators of the creation realm were still kept in the dark, looking uneasy, thinking that the fierce fight was still going on, just because Li Ruotong changed the battlefield. Shua. After a while, Li Ruotong came to a remote island according to the instructions. The soft and dense golden beach, the beach is shaded by green trees, branches and leaves are lush, and the air is filled with the smell of seawater. Under the big tree, a handsome young man in a Taoist robe with a peachwood hairpin stood with his hands behind his back. His fox eyes were filled with a cunning smile, which gave people a strange feeling of being calculated. He was the infamous Peach Blossom Immortal, Bo Chengli. Just now, Bo Chengli took advantage of the battle between Li Ruotong and the alien immortal emperors, seized the opportunity to use the yin-yang siphon technique to take advantage of the situation, interfere with her mind and force her to fall. When he found that he had really succeeded in controlling an immortal emperor, Bo Chengli felt an unspeakable ecstasy and pride in his heart. It was a full sense of accomplishment. You know, he was just an immortal, but he could control an immortal emperor. Who would believe it if I told him this? But that was the fact, he succeeded. For a while, Bo Chengli was full of emotion, thinking back to the time when he was like a rat crossing the street and everyone shouted and beat him, but now that time has changed, his biggest enemy has become a puppet controlled by him. Haha, what a irony. Li Ruotong's face was numb. She came to Bo Chengli like a puppet. She bowed with a slightly stiff movement and said in a voice without any emotion, "My daughter greets you, sir." Seeing this, Bo Chengli frowned. This was very different from what he imagined. In the past, the group of female cultivators who were recruited were very eager and attentive to him, and they wanted to kneel down like a dog and lick him directly. Why did Li Ruotong behave in the opposite way? This made Bo Chengli, who always had a full experience value, feel very puzzled and strange. But the next second, he figured out the crux of the matter. In fact, it was because of the gap in realm. Although the other party was affected by his skills, he was still unable to submit to him wholeheartedly, so this awkward and weird appearance was created. In essence, it was the other party's only remaining trace of reason that was fighting. After figuring out the reason, Bo Chengli sighed slightly, his eyes revealed a little regret, and felt that there was something missing. For him, every woman who was hit was like his masterpiece, and the effect must be absolutely perfect, but Li Ruotong's appearance was obviously imperfect and had great flaws. But there was no way, who let her be the immortal emperor? Swish swish swish, 11 alien immortal emperors came one after another, and when they saw Bo Chengli, their expressions were stunned, and they were caught off guard. What the hell? This guy is just an immortal venerable. Do you think he is deliberately hiding his cultivation? The red-haired Yaksha king looked suspicious and tried to lower his voice. Although this king really can't see it, this possibility cannot be ruled out. After all, even the human immortal emperor is willing to obey him. The Earth Demon King Peptide said in a deep voice, with a wise light flashing in his eyes. Why talk so much, let's just give it a try and we'll know. The king of Squid Tidali sneered, and his whole body burst out with imperial power, spreading forward. The other alien immortal emperors followed suit, releasing their great imperial might and gathering together to press down on Bo Chengli, who was not far away. Imperial might is a unique symbol of immortal emperors. If one is not an immortal emperor, it is absolutely unbearable. They are trying to test Bo Chengli's true cultivation. Why are you still standing there? Help me block it. Bo Chengli's face changed and he ordered hurriedly. Yes, young master. Li Ruotong turned around and released a powerful aura, like an invisible wall of air blocking the surging imperial might. Bo Chengli, who hid behind the woman, felt relieved and asked with a bad face. What do you mean by this? If Li Ruotong hadn't been blocking him, how could he, an immortal, withstand the pressure of 11 immortal emperors? He would have died on the spot. How is it possible? He is really an immortal. The Earth Demon King Pipesy said in shock, feeling as if he had been slapped in the face. In other words, this guy controlled the human immortal emperor. How did he do that? No wonder I felt that this woman was weird. So that's what happened. It's incredible. There are all kinds of things in the world. The 11 alien immortal emperors were very surprised. Their eyes changed again and again when they looked at Bo Chengli. Cursing inwardly, Bo Chengli sneered. Yes, as you can see, I am not an immortal emperor, but does it matter? Now I am giving you a chance to live. You'd better recognize the situation and correct your attitude. His words were neither humble nor arrogant, and he was full of confidence. As the first person in the immortal world who eats gigolo, his confidence naturally comes from women. You are just an ant, and you dare to talk to us like this. I think you are looking for death. The red-haired Yaksha king was furious, and stepped forward with murderous aura, wanting to kill Bo Chengli. The other 10 companions were also very dissatisfied with Bo Chengli's words and deeds. After all, only the immortal emperor could talk to him. What is a mere immortal venerable? How dare you dare to go against them? This feeling is like a giant dragon being fooled by an ant under its feet. It would be strange if you could accept it calmly. Haha, are you sure you want to attack me? Bo Chengli narrowed his eyes and said meaningfully. Li Ruotong said woodenly, if you want to harm the young master, you have to get through me first. As she said this, she exuded a sacred silver glow, as if she was ready to attack at any time. Feeling the dangerous breath coming from the front, the red-haired Yaksha king thought of Li Ruotong's previous terrifying appearance, and immediately did not dare to act rashly, and angrily said, you can only hide behind a woman, what kind of ability is that? Who knows, this sentence has no killing power to Bo Chengli at all. Bo Chengli shrugged, with a playful smile on his face, you are wrong, being protected by a woman is a great ability in itself, can you do it? The red-haired Yaksha king fell silent. Thinking about it carefully, it makes sense. At least it does not have the strength to let a woman of Li Ruotong's level protect it. It would be better if it did not say it. Now it is really envious. Boy, do you think you can be fine by relying on her? As long as we work together, she can't protect you alone. The Earth Demon King Peptide said in a deep voice. This is the truth. After all, Li Ruotong is always busy, and it only takes some effort for them to kill Bo Chengli. Then what, if you kill me, and there's no one to control her, she'll go kill you. Bo Chengli was not afraid, and sneered, come on, kill me, kill me. While speaking, he took the initiative to walk out from behind Li Ruotong and walk towards the 11 alien immortal emperors in front of him, looking like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. The alien immortal emperors stared at each other, and were immediately frightened. Obviously, Bo Chengli's words directly hit their pain points. Because the purpose of their agreement to cooperate was that they didn't want to continue fighting. If Bo Chengli was killed, Li Ruotong, who lost control, would certainly continue to attack them fiercely, and it would be hard to predict whether they would live or die. Facing the 11 immortal emperor-level powerhouses, Bo Chengli's heart was thumping wildly, and cold sweat broke out on his back. It would be a lie to say that he was not panicking at all. Now he was just trying to stay calm and pretend. Fortunately, the effect was very good. After weighing the pros and cons, the attitudes of the alien immortal emperors softened a bit, and they looked up to this daring and amazing guy. What happened just now was all a misunderstanding, you don't have to mind it. Among them, King Dali of Squid Tai coughed a few times and said shamelessly. Haha, let's talk about business. Seeing that the time was ripe, Bo Chengli waved his hand and said, as you can see, this woman has been controlled by me, but there is a powerful rival in Beihan Immortal Realm at the moment, and his strength is probably not weaker than this woman. Hearing this, the alien immortal emperors were shocked and asked hurriedly, who? Li Ruotong alone is enough for them to fight to the death, and now there is another person who is suspected to be stronger than her, so they must find out the identity of the other party. When mentioning this person, Bo Chengli's eyes flashed with a sharp light, his face was more solemn, and his tone was low. He is called Yi Tiandi. Chapter 551. C553 Who let him call himself the Emperor of Heaven? Yi Tiandi. Hearing this title, the immortal emperors of all races looked at each other, with a touch of astonishment in their eyes. You know, there are countless powerful people in the heavens and myriad worlds, but few of them dare to call themselves Tiandi, because the word Tiandi is too heavy and they are afraid that their fate cannot bear it. Even those saints who have transcended the immortal way basically call themselves saints to show their status and identity. Before this, the only person they had heard of who dared to call himself Tiandi was the supreme ruler who was in charge of the divine court. Therefore, the word Tiandi has always represented a taboo in the universe, representing the supreme existence that governs the heavens and myriad worlds. If any unworthy guy dares to call himself Tiandi, his final end will be miserable, either being killed by the huge cause and effect backlash, or being besieged to death by many cultivators who don't like it. Because of this, when hearing the three words Yi Tiandi, the immortal emperors of all races will show this reaction. In this world, someone dares to call himself the Emperor of Heaven. It is true that when there is no tiger in the mountain, the monkey dares to claim to be the king. The Dalai Lama of the Yutai tribe said dissatisfiedly. That's right, the ignorant are fearless. The other companions sneered. I want to know where this so-called Emperor Yitian came from. The red-haired Yaksha king showed a ferocious look, wishing to kill this arrogant guy. Bo Chengli said in a deep voice, don't take it lightly, everyone. Emperor Yitian's identity is mysterious and his origin is unknown. It is rumored that he is a hidden supreme who has lived for an unknown period of time. This woman went to him to discuss the Tao before, and it is said that she lost with conviction, which shows that the opponent's strength is unfathomable. If you want to capture the Beihan immortal realm, you will definitely not be able to avoid the obstruction of that guy. Hearing this, the faces of the immortal emperors of the alien races changed slightly. Listening to Bo Chengli's oral description, they felt that this must be an extremely strong enemy. Fortunately, the princess of the Asura tribe participated in this operation, and even if it can't be done, the other party will cover it in the end. Thinking of the horrible means of the little lowly, the hearts of the alien immortal emperors were inexplicably much more stable. Conquering the Beihan immortal realm is the most critical part of Juyu's plan to invade the immortal world. It can determine morale and play a role similar to the charge. If they fail, it will definitely bring shame to their respective tribes. Even if they return alive, they will be judged as dead, so they must complete the task and blow the victory horn of conquering the immortal world. In this case, let's unite to deal with him, and we have stronger helpers here. The Earth Demon King Pipesi said. It means that Li Ruotong, who is controlled by Bo Chengli, will join in and form a siege against the so-called Yitiandi. There are helpers. Bo Chengli captured this key information, his heart skipped a beat, and his eyes were dim. The background of this extraterritorial demon is more terrifying than he imagined. Pipesi, do you mean to let the guards around Her Royal Highness the Princess take action? Is this possible? The king of Squid Tai Dali secretly transmitted the voice. What's the matter? Although they are personal guards, does the princess need their protection with her ability? Anyway, let's get rid of this big enemy first. The Earth Demon King Peptixi responded. By the way, why don't we ask the princess to take action? This way, we will be more confident. One of his companions couldn't stand it anymore and said this idea. As a result, its proposal was immediately refuted by other alien immortal emperors. Are you blind? Don't you see that this man's means are weird and he can actually manipulate a female immortal emperor? If the princess contacts him and is manipulated by him, what should we do? Can you afford the consequences? The red-haired Yaksha king's voice was full of anger. The alien immortal emperor immediately thought about it and was terrified. He dared not say anything, and looked at Bo Chengli with fear. It is shocking that an immortal can manipulate an immortal emperor. Fortunately, the other party's manipulation is limited to female monks, otherwise they, the males, will also suffer. Now, the Asura princess is the commander of the three tribes, so they dare not let Rosa come here in person, so as not to be killed by Bo Chengli. It is worth mentioning, these exchanges were completed in voice transmission, and no relevant information was leaked. At this time, Bo Chengli stood with his hands behind his back, and a hint of suspicion flashed in his eyes, because he could feel that these extraterritorial demons were obviously hiding something from him. Humph, if the situation is not pressing, this young master will not cooperate with you monsters. Bo Chengli said secretly. He took a risky move. Rather than seeing the fall of Beihan Immortaland with his own eyes and living under the control of extraterritorial demons from then on, he might as well stand up and take the initiative to share the worries of the extraterritorial demons and seek a bright future. After all, with Li Ruotong as the trump card, he has the qualifications to negotiate with the extraterritorial demons. If the other party dies in battle, what else can he rely on? My friend, we will ask for helpers to come over. Can you guarantee that there will be no problems on your side? The king of Squid Tai Dali said in a deep voice. The problem it refers to is naturally Li Ruotong. Bo Chengli smiled confidently and said, don't worry, as long as I am here, she will obey me. If I say go east, she will never dare to go west. That's good. If this really works, you will be a hero of our Juyu, and there will be endless benefits in the future. King Dali of Yutai said meaningfully. I don't deserve it. It's my honor to share your worries and solve your problems. When he heard the word Juyu, Bo Chengli's eyes flashed with a gleam of brilliance, and he pretended to be terrified and bowed. He thought to himself, this must be the strongest force of the extraterritorial demons. After establishing a consensus, the Dalai Lama, the king of Squid, informed the two princess guards in the Taihang Forbidden Mountains about the matter through the messenger talisman. Taihang Forbidden Mountain. The two guards received the news separately. They frowned and looked at each other. Your Royal Highness, the king of the Squid Tai tribe has just asked us for support, saying that there is a difficult immortal emperor in the northern cold immortal territory and we need to take action to kill it. You see. After hearing the report from her subordinates, Rosa looked a little surprised because it was extremely inconsistent with the previous intelligence description. She said angrily, a bunch of trash can't even handle the natives here. Hey Ju, I'll leave this little matter to you. I don't have the time to play with them, because my opponent is only the strongest person in the immortal court. The person called Heiju was a personal guard wearing a black devil mask. Seeing that he had a strong aura, he bowed his hands and said respectfully, as you command, Your Highness Princess. After saying that, he disappeared on the spot. On the island, in a room, Bo Chengli and Li Ruotong were alone. Looking at the immortal Emperor Haoyu who was admired by countless people, Bo Chengli couldn't help but have evil thoughts, with an evil light flashing in his eyes. Li Ruotong, you never dreamed that one day you would fall into my hands, right? I can still recall the scene when you sat in the Moon Palace and wiped out my clone with one finger. Until now, this is a past that I cannot bear to look back on. Bo Chengli looked very excited and gritted his teeth. But the woman in front of him had a dull expression, her eyes were empty, and she didn't respond at all. Now, you are finally in my hands. I will take out all the anger I suffered before on you. From now on, you are not only my servant, but also my personal plaything, hee. With that said, Bo Chengli stretched out his hand, with a successful smile on his lips, and slowly touched Li Ruotong's big thunder. He's going to push the other person down here. Chapter 552. C554 Bo Chengli, I have been honest, please let me go. At this moment, his wrist was suddenly grasped tightly by a jade hand, as firm as a pair of pliers. Bo Chengli's expression changed drastically, because it was Li Ruotong who was grabbing his wrist. You, how did you? Bo Chengli broke out in cold sweat on his forehead, and his whole body was trembling with fear. He thought that the other party had recovered. In the end, Li Ruotong just grabbed his wrist, his face still numb, his eyes lifeless, no different from when he was hit. Bo Chengli noticed this strangeness and his face was filled with surprise and uncertainty. What's going on? He didn't dare to act rashly, so he let Li Ruotong slowly let go of his hand and continued to stand with his hands down, as if what he just did was just an accident. But only Bo Chengli knew that there must be something wrong with this. In order to verify his conjecture, Bo Chengli bravely reached out and touched it again, but as before, his wrist was grabbed and unable to move. Damn it, is this because of her subconscious mind? Thinking of this, Bo Chengli's face turned ugly. Because Li Ruotong has not completely fallen, and still retains a trace of self-awareness to fight, once there is an action that makes her very resistant, she will subconsciously trigger her self-protection mechanism. This is why when he wants to do something wrong, the other party will stop him immediately. If it is a woman who completely obeys his orders, not only will she not refuse, she will also cooperate obediently like a lover in love. That's the difference. After figuring out the reason, Bo Chengli felt very depressed. Is this woman really untouchable? It's a state of mind, right? Looking at the cold and noble woman in front of him, Bo Chengli, who did not believe in evil, decided to take a chance. I ask you, are you willing to do anything for me? Li Ruotong said dully, I wish. Then take off your clothes. Bo Chengli tried wildly. Good. Li Ruotong raised his hand and waved violently. Kyla, along with the sound of clothes tearing, a breeze blew by. Bo Chengli's eyes widened in disbelief. He quickly looked down and saw that his clothes were gone. Fuck, Bo Chengli didn't expect that Li Ruotong would take off his clothes. I am asking you to take off your own clothes, not my clothes. Do you understand? Bo Chengli said angrily. Li Ruotong looked numb and said without any emotion in his voice, I understand. Then do it quickly. Bo Chengli's voice rose a little more, full of anger. Unexpectedly, after receiving the order, Li Ruotong didn't take any action at all, just like a piece of wood. This made Bo Chengli laugh angrily. He knew very well that Li Ruotong's subconscious was resisting this action. Although Bo Chengli really wanted to take off all the other party's clothes, he simply couldn't do such a thing with his strength. You bitch, do you love me or not? Tell me. Bo Chengli thought of another way and asked. This is the core ability of yin-yang siphon technique, which can make every woman who falls in love with him fall in love with him unconditionally. Therefore, I will do anything for him out of love. Like, Li Ruotong said with a dull expression. Okay, then since you love me, how should you express your love for me? Bo Chengli followed the temptation and was bound to take advantage of Li Ruotong's body in order to avenge his previous shame. After a few seconds of silence, Li Ruotong slowly raised his hand and then slapped him with an expressionless face. Snap! A clear slap sounded. Ah! Bo Chengli was slapped and fell to the ground. His ears were ringing, his head was buzzing, blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth, half of his face was bloody, and there were stars in his eyes. After a long while, he barely recovered. Bo Chengli stretched out his fingers tremblingly, his voice trembling with anger. Why did you hit me? Master, this is how I express my love to you. Li Ruotong said. What? Bo Chengli was stunned. No, is this woman mentally ill? Is there any man in this world who can withstand this kind of love? Ahem, besides this, do you have any other way? The kind that's gentler and more comfortable. Bo Chengli said unwillingly. As he said that, Li Ruotong kicked Bo Chengli, who was not even close to his hair. Bo Chengli felt unbearable pain all over his body and was covered in scars. He howled like a slaughtering pig and was sweating from the pain. Stop! Bo Chengli shouted hurriedly. Yes. After receiving the order, Li Ruotong stopped his actions. Ha. Bo Chengli lay on the ground covered in blood and sweat, breathing heavily, feeling like he was surviving a disaster. What happens? At this time, the immortal emperors of the alien races who heard the commotion, fearing that the situation would change, quickly released their spiritual consciousness to investigate. When he saw Bo Chengli naked and covered with scars, he looked like a dead dog lying on the ground breathing heavily. All the alien emperors were stunned. What's going on? Could this be playing a very niche game? My little friend, your hobbies are very unique. The Dalai Lama, King of Squidward, said with a strange expression. I didn't expect you to be so good at it. I am very curious about what this kind of gameplay is for. The red-haired Yaksha King clicked his tongue in surprise. The alien immortal emperors were talking to each other, and Bo Chengli wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. It was so fucking stupid. At this point, Bo Chengli would not admit that it was his mistake. He laughed dryly and said nonsense seriously. You don't know, playing like this is good for polishing the cultivator's body. It can both practice and release the body and mind. I usually don't tell others about this unique method. Hearing such an outrageous reason, the alien immortal emperors were silent. Then, they silently withdrew their spiritual senses, not wanting to see the next eye-catching scene. In the house, Bo Chengli looked at the dull Li Ruotong in front of him, and his chest hurt and his whole body was shaking. To be honest, he suspected that the other party was pretending, otherwise why would he torture him so much? Is this your love for me? Are you sure? Bo Chengli gritted his teeth and questioned. Li Ruotong said expressionlessly, yes, sir, if you are not satisfied, I can continue to express my love for someone. As she said this, she was about to lift her foot again. Seeing this, Bo Chengli was so scared that his scalp went numb. He waved his hands desperately and moved his body frantically to retreat to the corner, saying in horror. No need. Get out. I don't want to see you now. Yes. Li Ruotong stepped out of the room. Bo Chengli huddled in the corner helplessly. The pain in his body made him want to cry but not cry. At this time, after the bloody lesson just now, he no longer dared to have any unreasonable thoughts. Scared. This kind of love is too heavy, he is not worthy of it. Chapter 553. C556 Never Surrender. At the same time. On the other side, the savage realm was devastated. Looking around, the smoke of gunpowder filled the air everywhere, and the flames of war soared into the sky, as if a world-destroying disaster had come. Whether it was the sects, the immortal dynasties, or the aristocratic families, they all came out in full force to resist the catastrophe of the invasion from foreign forces. Countless human cultivators rose up to fight, fighting with the alien army with the determination to die. There were heavy casualties everywhere, and the battle was extremely tragic. During this period, cities were slaughtered, and sects and countries were destroyed. It was simply a river of blood, and lives were lost. Kill my wife and children, slaughter my people, I will fight you, a group of foreign demons. A middle-aged man covered in blood and holding a long sword, looked at the black Yaksha creatures in the sky, roared out of control, 2 lines of tears flowed down his face, and his eyes were full of deep hatred. He was the head of the local immortal family, and he was always in a high position and had great prestige. Not long ago, when foreign races invaded, he had to lead the family monks to resist with all his strength. However, the enemy was too powerful, and the people around him died one after another, leaving only him, the head of the family, who was still struggling to hold on. The bodies of old, young, women and children were everywhere around him, including his wife and children who died tragically. The middle-aged man completely lost his mind in extreme grief. At this time, he held a 3-foot green sword, glared at the figures of foreign races in the sky, and rushed up with a roar. After a short fight, the middle-aged man released a immortal light as bright as the sun, and his body surface appeared like porcelain with broken cracks, and a breath of destruction was diffused. Oh no, this human is going to self-destruct. Looking around at the terrified yaksha creatures around him, the middle-aged man showed a crazy smile on his face, which contained sadness and hysteria. Go to hell. You monsters. Boom boom boom, the head of the immortal family blew himself up with hatred. The power of the explosion was extremely shocking, and many yaksha warriors were buried in an instant. After the blazing light, only a ruin was left. However, this crippled yaksha team adjusted its state and continued to move to the next location. Such tragic scenes are everywhere in this wild domain. In a dilapidated palace, a fully armed earth demon army stood outside the palace, with murderous aura. The leading armored leader held a sledgehammer, his eyes showing a fierce look, and smashed the ministers who would rather die than surrender and kneeled in a row into meat paste one by one on the spot, and the scene was extremely bloody. You bunch of extraterritorial demons, don't even think about making Dali surrender. The only minister left on the field was not frightened, but glared at the demon in front of him and roared like crazy. Then, he looked at the old man with white hair who was stepped on by him, wearing a bright yellow dragon robe, and was old and frail, and roared with tears. Your Majesty, I have not embarrassed you, nor have I embarrassed Dali, nor have I embarrassed our human race. As soon as these words came out, the little leader immediately showed an angry look on his face, picked up a sledgehammer and hit him hard, saying angrily, you damn bug. Bang, the minister was like mud and bloody after a heavy hammer fell. Seeing this, Emperor Li looked ashen. This group of demons are good at moving underground. They are elusive and powerful. They defeated the cavalry of Dali and even the palace fell. This led to the humiliating situation now. Old man, do you want to surrender or not? As long as you submit to my tribe, you are still the ruler of this country. Otherwise, die. The little leader of the demon tribe threatened, holding a heavy war hammer, the surface of which was stained with broken flesh and blood, emitting a strong and pungent smell of blood. Even my ministers are not afraid of death, what should I be afraid of? Go ahead. Unexpectedly, Emperor Li sighed, closed his eyes, and did not take the other party's words seriously. Okay, you are not afraid of death, then I will fulfill your wish. The little leader swung the war hammer in a rage, and the unyielding Emperor Dali died on the spot, and blood flowed. At the same time, on a battlefield opened up somewhere, countless human warriors and alien armies fought together. The shouts and screams shook the earth, and the drums of war were beating. The strongest forces in the savage domain gathered here. All the local cultivators who participated in the war were no less than the realm of immortal lords, and immortal kings and immortal emperors could be seen everywhere. Extraterritorial demons, get out of our homeland. A Tianzhao from a large sect roared with red eyes. Then, the Tianzhao dragged his injured body and rushed into the enemy's encirclement desperately. With a roar, he detonated the immortal source in his body, and blasted a breakthrough for his fellow disciples behind him. Big brother. Witnessing this tragic scene, the fellow disciples burst into tears. This was the big brother they admired the most on weekdays, and they didn't expect that he died like this. My fellow Taoists, I, Qing Yangxi, will go first. The one who called out was an old man in green clothes with disheveled hair and blood on his face. At this time, he had several shocking blood holes on his body, and even one arm was gone. Although he realized that he was about to die, there was no fear on his face, but he laughed up to the sky. Then, he rushed into the alien team without hesitation, and used his last strength by self-destruction. My fellow Taoists, I will accompany you now. Ha ha ha, there are so many people on the Yellow Spring Road. How happy, dying for the justice of the human race is an honor. One by one, the seriously injured and dying monks knew that they were bound to die, so they calmly chose to self-destruct and died generously. Boom boom boom, the explosion was earth-shattering, and light groups of different sizes appeared one after another on the battlefield. The scene was extremely tragic. Among them, there was a mighty man who was as tall as an iron tower and had bulging muscles. He exuded a wild aura and was fighting desperately with more than a dozen foreign generals. As the strongest man in the wilderness, the giant spirit immortal lord undoubtedly shoulders the important task of resisting the invasion of aliens. Although he is an unparalleled giant who has proven the Tao through force, and his strength belongs to the first echelon of the immortals, but at this time, facing the siege of more than a dozen foreign generals, it seems very difficult and at a disadvantage. After all, the overall strength of the wilderness territory lags far behind the enemy, and there are only a few strong men who have reached the realm of Immortal Lord. The worst thing is that now only the giant spirit Immortal Lord is left. Therefore, the giant spirit Immortal Lord who is under siege is in a precarious situation. Give up your resistance, you can't defeat us. A foreign general sneered. Yes, you are the most powerful here, but it's a pity that you are fighting alone, and no one can help you. Anyway, you will die, so I might as well give you a happy one. Another foreign general said deliberately. The giant spirit Immortal Lord spat out bloody saliva and glared. What's the point of dying? I'm just afraid of the torture of death. Even if I die in battle in the end, I will deserve to die. The tone is sonorous and powerful, and the words are striking. Haha, then go die. More than a dozen foreign generals rushed towards him with weapons in hand and grinning ferociously. The giant spirit Immortal Lord, who had reached the end of his battle, was retreating steadily under the fierce attacks of the foreign generals. Just when he was cruelly preparing to self-destruct. Snort. Suddenly, between the vast heaven and earth, a young man's cold snort sounded like a muffled thunder. In an instant, a monstrous imperial power enveloped the wilderness, forcing all the monks who were fighting endlessly to stop. No, that's impossible. The expressions of more than a dozen foreign generals changed drastically, because they could feel that this powerful aura of the immortal emperor belonged to the human race, not the king who led them. In the vast sky, a silver-haired figure with an ethereal temperament appeared. His long silver-white hair fluttered in the wind, and every strand of hair was shining. The young man had an extremely handsome face, sword-shaped eyebrows and starry eyes, and was dressed in a solemn black robe, adding a bit of majesty and domineering. Boom! The vast imperial power pressed down on every alien race, making their bodies feel extremely heavy. Soon their bodies were overwhelmed. There was a clicking sound in their bodies, and they all fell to their knees with looks of horror on their faces. At this moment, all the creatures in the entire wilderness are looking up to this silver-haired young man who dominates the world. The giant spirit immortal was stunned at first, then shed 2 lines of tears with excitement, and said in a trembling voice. Yes, it's Emperor Yi Tian. Chapter 554. C557. What is the formation saint? Yi Junlin stood on the top of the cloud with his hands behind his back, frowning. Since the invasion of Beihan Immortal Realm by foreign races, many large domains have been forced into the vortex of war. With him, Qingtian Realm was safe, but if it continued like this, the crises in various places would still not be resolved. Later, he received news from the outside world that an unprecedented imperial war broke out in the creation realm, and Li Ruotong fought with many foreign immortal emperors, and the battle was very fierce. When he learned that his granddaughter was in danger, Kanglang Jun was very anxious to rush there, but was stopped by Yi Junlin without any explanation. After all, with Kanglang Jun's strength, going there would also cause trouble. At this time, the system triggered a special sign-in task, which was to go to the creation realm to complete the sign-in. The sign-in reward was to obtain the Formation Saint Experience Pack. That's right, it was the Formation Saint. At first, Yi Junlin was surprised to hear this new term. After all, this thing, which is related to saint, sounds more powerful than the Taoist Formation Master. As expected, under the explanation of the system, the Array Saint is an existence that is superior to the Tao Array Master. Array Masters who are superior to Tao Array Masters are called Array Saints in the heavens and all worlds. Moreover, Yi Junlin also learned from here that the concept of Array Supreme is actually seriously outdated. In ancient times, because there were very few strong people in the Saint Realm, anyone who had abilities that exceeded the Tao Array Master was called the Array Supreme, and the most famous representative was Lu Wangshu. But now the times are different. The universe has entered the Saint Tao era. For the levels above the Tao Array Master, the heavenly cultivators have a more detailed division. The first to bear the brunt is the Array Saint. The array laid by an Array Saint can even kill a large number of Saint Realm strongmen. And Lu Wangshu, strictly speaking, he is a pseudo-Array Saint. The reason why he is called a pseudo-Array Saint is that he has not reached the Saint Realm, but in terms of mental power and array attainments, he has reached the level of the Array Saint. The difference of one word is like a natural moat. This led to Lu Wangshu being able to pose a threat to ordinary saints at most in terms of formations, but that was all. After figuring out the relationship, Yi Junlin was very interested in the sign-in reward for a while. If he could get the Formation Saint experience pack, he would be able to leap to the Formation Saint level in terms of formation attainments. From then on, any formation was child's play in his eyes. There was nothing to be afraid of. Then, with Kanglang Jun's excited thanks, Yi Junlin set off to sign in at the creation domain, and planned to help Li Ruotong by the way. In the process, he waved his hand to deal with all the foreign races he encountered, until he passed through the wilderness domain and saw the foreign army like a virus raging inside. With the mentality of helping if he could, Yi Junlin personally descended on the wilderness domain and prepared to do a bloodbath. At this time, looking at the huge crowd of foreign cultivators below, Yi Junlin's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness, and he put his 2 fingers together and began to stand in front of him. His aura became like a peerless divine sword unsheathed, with its sharp edge exposed and hard to look at. Around him, dense golden sword energy like a vast sea of smoke condensed and formed, rippling out a terrifying energy wave like a storm. Die! The cold and magnificent voice echoed between heaven and earth, as if the voice of the gods sounded in the depths of everyone's heart. Swish 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 swish, the dense golden sword energy seemed to have spirituality, and it dispersed in an orderly manner and spread everywhere. Ah! The screams rang out one after another. Many foreign cultivators were terrified, and could only watch the golden sword energy penetrate their bodies and die in great fear. Facing the attack of an immortal emperor, they could not resist at all. Even if they escaped, they would be caught up by the golden sword energy, which was like a death warrant, causing the aliens to panic and collapse. No, more than a dozen alien generals were the first to be hit, and were strangled into blood mist by the golden sword energy in despair. Under Yi Junlin's means, the alien army stranded in the savage domain was quickly destroyed. A crisis of destroying the domain was resolved in an instant. The survivors from all over the country cried with joy, knelt down and shouted in the direction of Yi Junlin. Thank you for your help, senior. Witnessing this scene, Juling Immortal Venerable burst into tears, bowed and clasped his fists and said, Your Excellency Yi Tiandi, you saved the entire savage domain, I am very grateful. Yi Junlin glanced at him, rubbed his chin thoughtfully, It's you, I still have some impression. He remembered that the other party was an old friend of the Changsheng Patriarch. It's my honor to be remembered by you. Hearing this, Juling Immortal Venerable was incomparably happy. Well, since you are all fine, I will leave first. Yi Junlin didn't want to waste another second here, and his figure turned into a golden light and disappeared without a trace. Farewell to Emperor Yi Tian. The giant spirit Immortal Venerable shouted hurriedly, his eyes full of awe and fanaticism. We will send off Emperor Yi Tian. On the battlefield, all the cultivators bowed, and the respectful voices gathered together like a tsunami, shaking the earth. Not long after, Yi Junlin arrived at the creation domain. Ding! Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully, and reward the Erase Saint Experience Pack. At the same time, the system prompt sounded in his mind. The next moment, more exquisite and profound array knowledge burst out from the depths of his mind like a volcanic eruption. Yi Junlin covered his forehead with one hand, clenched his teeth, and even cold sweat ran down his face. It can be imagined how huge this inheritance is. In just a few breaths, Yi Junlin's attainments in formations jumped from a heavenly level formation master to an formation saint level. Call. It wasn't until the pain disappeared that Yi Junlin breathed a sigh of relief, with a faint smile appearing on the corner of his mouth. It's not easy to become a formation saint. Fortunately, he works hard enough and endures hardships enough. If other formation masters heard such words, they would be so angry that they would vomit 3 liters of blood on the spot and curse shamelessly. Even Lu Wangshu, who is known as the best formation master in history, probably wants to die with Yi Junlin. Just because Yi Junlin is so hateful. Formation Saint, that is Formation Saint. In ancient times, it was called the Supreme Formation Master, and it was the ultimate goal that countless formation masters dreamed of but could not achieve. Even in this era, it is an insurmountable mountain. If you place it in any major system outside the territory, you will definitely be treated as a guest. Now, Yi Junlin has achieved it effortlessly. How can he not make people envious, jealous, and hate him? After successfully getting what he wanted, Yi Junlin focused on the great domain of creation. With a sweep of his immortal emperor-level consciousness, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. What's going on? Didn't we agree that an imperial war would break out? Not seeing the expected picture, Yi Junlin felt a little puzzled. Suddenly, a familiar and indifferent female voice sounded in his ears, Fellow Taoist Yi, please come over here. It's Li Ruotong. Yi Junlin's mind moved and he followed the source of the sound. He felt that since the other party was still there, he should be out of danger and there was no need to worry too much. Aha! Came to a remote island. Yi Junlin stood on the golden beach, looking at the graceful and tall figure standing in the shadow under the big tree in front of him, and said seriously. Fellow Taoist Li, your grandfather is very worried about you. He will be very happy to know that you are fine. He thought there would be a response, but Li Ruotong was stuck on the spot like a piece of wood, his face numb and lifeless, his eyes empty, as if he didn't hear what Yi Junlin said. Yi Junlin frowned. Li Ruotong's abnormal state made him feel something was wrong. After all, Li Ruotong would definitely be very interested in his grandfather whenever he was mentioned, but now he seems to be turning a deaf ear to it. Obviously there is something fishy in this. Wait a minute, there's someone behind this big tree. After Yi Junlin adjusted his mind, he noticed a vague aura behind the big tree, but it was extremely weak to him, so he didn't take it seriously. Haha, have you been spotted? A young figure slowly walked out from behind the towering tree, wearing a peachwood hairpin, a brand new black Taoist robe, and a jingle ring. He was supposed to be a cynical and handsome young man, but half of his face turned out to be miserable, as if he hadn't recovered from a slap in the face. In conjunction with his pretentious attitude, he looked inexplicably funny. Well, seeing this, Yi Junlin looked strange. Who are you? Junior Bo Chengli, I have met His Excellency Yi Tiandi. Bo Chengli bowed his hands with a playful smile on his lips, but the more he acted like this, the funnier his face became. Yi Junlin shook his head. I haven't heard of it. Bo Chengli was not annoyed, but said meaningfully, then have you ever heard of Peach Blossom Immortal Lord? It's you. Now, it was Yi Junlin's turn to be surprised. He did not expect that Peach Blossom Immortal Lord, who was once notorious in the Northern Han Immortal domain and was shouted at by everyone, would appear in front of him today. That's right, it's me. Bo Chengli said with a hint of contentment on his brows. It seems that he is still very influential and can make such a powerful man show such a reaction. It doesn't matter if you're not dead, how dare you show up? Yi Junlin said in a bad tone. After hearing about Peach Blossom Immortal Lord's deeds, it was hard for him not to have a reason not to kill him. Getting rid of this big scourge would be good for everyone. Haha, why don't you dare? Bo Chengli came to Li Ruotong's side, put his hands behind his back and raised his chest, and said confidently. I have someone to rely on now. Seeing this situation, Yi Junlin narrowed his eyes slightly. It turns out that fellow Taoist Li fell into your trick. You, a mere immortal lord, can actually make the immortal emperor fall. It's really surprising. From the Kunlun realm to the immortal realm, he met many talents along the way, but the most outstanding one was the guy in front of him. Not only has he relied on women all his life to successfully achieve soft food but hard work, now even the immortal emperor has become the opponent's thug. Award after reward. Bo Chengli hadn't realized the seriousness of the problem yet, and still looked cynical. So, you brought me here to use her hand to kill me? Or maybe them. Yi Junlin paused, stamped his right foot violently, and shouted coldly, get out of here. Boom, the entire beautiful island was trampled to pieces and fell into the rough sea. In an instant, 11 terrifying auras shot up into the sky as their hiding place was discovered. The sky turned pale, filled with a depressing and dull atmosphere. 11 foreign immortal emperors came to the sky, stood in their respective positions, and formed a circle around Yi Junlin. Suddenly, Yi Junlin felt that he was in the center of the whirlpool, tightly wrapped in endless killing intent and murderous intent. Haha, they actually discovered our ambush, there's something. The red-haired Yaksha king and the others sneered, their eyes looking at a corpse. Chapter 555. C558 Bo Chengli, I am just floating. It seems that fellow Taoist Li's previous opponent was you. Yi Junlin sneered. As early as the beginning, he realized that there were actually many ancient auras deliberately hidden on the seemingly peaceful island. If it were an ordinary immortal emperor, it would be absolutely impossible to see the clues. But Yi Junlin possesses an invincible sword heart and his perception far exceeds that of monks of the same level. Therefore, in his eyes, the ambush laid by the immortal emperors of the alien races was destined to be impossible to hide. The red-haired Yaksha king and others were a little unhappy, because in their opinion, the opponent's cultivation level was only the first level of the immortal emperor, and logically they should not see any flaws. But unfortunately, their tricks were discovered. HMPH, how dare a native like you call yourself the Emperor of Heaven? It's true that the ignorant are fearless. The King of Thailand, the Dalai Lama, snorted coldly, his eyes full of contempt and ridicule. In all the worlds, even many saints dare not call themselves Emperors of Heaven. Where do you get the face from an ant like you? Everyone, I have an idea. We can cut off his head later and bring it back to Juyu as a display. We will announce to the outside world that this is a native of the immortal world who claims to be the Emperor of Heaven. I guess many monks will be happy to watch the joke. Haha, what a great idea, it has to be you, King Pili. The immortal emperors of the alien race treated Yi Junlin as a laughingstock. They were a little uneasy at first, thinking that the so-called Yi Tiandi was at least inscrutable in terms of cultivation. But when they saw that he was not as good as them, they immediately lost their fear and became extremely contemptuous. Hee. Faced with the unbridled ridicule, Yi Junlin did not show anger. His gaze fell on Bo Chengli and he said coldly, I still underestimated your lower limit. How dare you collude with foreign races from outside the territory? Bo Chengli smiled playfully. I know you look down on me and think that I am a traitor to my immortal world and a scum of the human race, but so what? What I want in this life is to be unrestrained and happy, to gain power in the world and lie drunk on the lap of a beautiful woman. Since the alien races from outside the territory are destined to take over the northern cold immortal territory, why don't I help them? We will coexist with each other for mutual benefit in the future. What's more, this woman and I have a sworn hatred. How long will it take if we don't avenge this hatred? After I get rid of you and help them successfully take over the northern cold immortal territory, then I will be their liaison in the immortal realm. Who dares to disobey me from now on? Ha 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 ha. As he spoke, Bo Chengli spread his arms, with a crazy and perverted smile on his face. Ridiculous. Yi Junlin shook his head. Do you think you can deal with me by joining forces with them? Bo Chengli stopped laughing and raised his eyebrows. What do you mean? It means that none of them are my opponent. Yi Junlin's tone seemed to be stating a fact. As soon as these words came out, the wind and clouds suddenly changed, and the sun and moon lost their light. The immortal emperors of the foreign races were extremely angry, and they all burst out with terrifying momentum. Boom boom boom, the endless sea was boiling crazily, countless sea beasts were affected, and their bodies were shattered by the shock, leaving no bones left. Human race, you are looking for death. The red-haired Yaksha king raised the trident in his hand and roared angrily. Kill. I don't know who spoke first, but all the immortal emperors of the alien races all attacked the silver-haired young man with red eyes. A series of terrifying moves were launched, containing unimaginable power. Boom. The huge blazing light cluster was like a sun explosion, releasing billions of dazzling rays of light in the sky. Humph, that's all, a foreign immortal emperor sneered. As a result, its expression changed in the next second, because a vast sense of oppression was released from within the light group. The light group slowly disappeared, and Yi Junlin appeared unscathed, with an aura of cultivation far more powerful than before. Just now, he was attacked by many immortal emperors from the 5th level, which triggered the system's passive effect of getting stronger when encountering strong ones. His cultivation level jumped from the 1st level immortal emperor to the 6th level immortal emperor. In an instant, all the foreign immortal emperors present were inferior to him in terms of realm. Your cultivation is actually... The red-haired Yaksha king's expression suddenly changed, and his heart suddenly sank. Damn it, it turns out this is his true cultivation level. We were all deceived. Earth Demon King Tuxi's expression was uglier than eating shit. Yi Junlin glanced around, his eyes showing a hint of joking. Is this all you have? As he spoke, a dark golden flying knife that was 2 feet long appeared above his head. The blade was engraved with mysterious and simple patterns, and the overall look was very delicate. After being injected with immortal power, the flying knife trembled violently and erupted into terrifying energy fluctuations. This is the soul-destroying blade. Go. Yi Junlin raised his finger and tapped lightly, and the soul-destroying blade above his head quickly whirled away with a mysterious force. There are faint ripples in the space along the way. Not good. A foreign immortal emperor just wanted to take action, but his whole body trembled in an instant, his eyes became empty and spiritual, and then he fell powerlessly into the sea. There were no scars on its body, but it had lost the breath of life, which made people feel extremely strange. Swish swish swish. As the soul-destroying blade circled rapidly, one after another the alien emperors were struck by it, falling from the sky like dumplings, losing the characteristics of their lives. What's going on? What happened? Everyone, be careful, there's something weird about that magic weapon. I have seen it clearly. It does not attack flesh and blood, but specifically attacks the souls of monks. That's not right. We are in the realm of the immortal emperor after all, and the immortal emperor's spirit can be killed at will. As each of their companions fell rapidly, several other alien emperors were shocked and were very frightened by the soul-destroying blade. It is true that magic weapons that specifically attack the divine soul are rare, but once one reaches the realm of the immortal emperor, the divine soul will transform, like a grain of sand expanding into a giant mountain of 10,000 feet, becoming extremely stable. Therefore, even in the face of divine soul magic weapons, even if the grade reaches the immortal emperor's weapon, it is difficult to destroy the immortal emperor's divine soul with one blow. Because this is almost impossible. But now, what is happening in front of them has subverted the perceptions of the immortal emperors of other races. The soul-destroying blade that Yi Junlin offered was like the scythe of the god of death, harvesting wildly. Just one blow can kill the immortal emperor's soul. It's so horrifying. Feeling the strong threat to his life, the red-haired Yaksha king's heart trembled wildly. At the same time, he thought of something and roared at Bo Chengli in the distance. "Bastard, are you watching a show? Why don't you ask that woman to help you? It thinks this way." Li Ruotong possesses the immortal crown of the great heavenly position, which has a certain suppressive effect to a certain extent. Bo Chengli knew that the situation was not good, and he no longer looked cynical. There began to be a little panic on his face, and he said quickly. "Quickly, use all your strength to kill that man." "As you command, sir." Li Ruotong stepped forward with an expressionless expression, and the crown of the immortal Tao of great heaven was condensed on his head, and his whole aura suddenly changed. Yi Junlin could sense that there was an invisible force suppressing him. This feeling was extremely awkward. The immortal crown of the great heavenly throne is truly extraordinary. But your cultivation is not enough to pose a threat to me. Fellow Taoist Li, I'm offended. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode, thumbs feed 01, container, tabula below article thumbnail, 300 times 250 feet, placement, below article thumbnail -300 times 250 feet, target _type, mix. Chapter 556. C559 Li Ruotong's self-consolation. Suddenly, Yi Junlin activated the 9th grade immortal power in his body, raised his hand and grabbed Li Ruotong fiercely. Aha! A big golden hand shattered the void, like the hand of a god, and the aura it exuded made everyone tremble. With Yi Junlin's current state, the 9th grade immortal power can be freely mobilized. Li Ruotong resisted instinctively, and the surging power of the bright moon burst out from his body to resist this big golden hand. But no matter what, the strength gap is really too big. Li Ruotong was grabbed by the big golden hand and found it difficult to struggle. For the reversal of the situation, all the foreign immortal emperors were stunned. I thought that Li Ruotong's joining the fight would have a certain effect, but I didn't expect that he would be suppressed so quickly. What a slap in the face. This. Bo Chengli was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat and quickly turned around and ran away. You guy must die today. Yi Junlin didn't want to let go of this kind of disaster, so he spit out a golden sword energy and stabbed away. Emperor Yi Tian, have mercy on me. Bo Chengli looked desperate, and his whole body exploded into a ball of blood mist, which dissipated between heaven and earth. At the same time, Li Ruotong's eyes gradually returned to clarity, and a look of confusion appeared on his face. What's wrong with me? When she returned to normal, she found herself being grabbed by a big golden hand, and her expression suddenly changed. Fellow Taoist Li, just be fine. Yi Junlin smiled and removed his golden hand from Li Ruotong. Fellow Taoist Yi, it's you. Li Ruotong felt relaxed all over, with a look of surprise on his face. Think carefully about what happened before. Yi Junlin said. Li Ruotong racked his brains, and a tingling feeling began to come from the depths of his mind, and the memories of the period when he was controlled began to emerge one after another. Peach Blossom Immortal Lord, Bo Chengli. Li Ruotong's eyes were cold, and she felt so ashamed and humiliated in her heart that her delicate body was trembling with anger. This person is so hateful. He actually took advantage of her distraction and used that disgusting evil technique to control her, and even wanted to do evil things to her in the house. Fortunately, her subconscious resisted, and she was not successful. For a moment, Li Ruotong thought about it carefully, but also felt extremely lucky. Then, thinking that it was Yi Junlin who saved her, a complex emotion suddenly emerged in her heart. Because Yi Junlin could suppress her with his bare hands, and he didn't even need to use the immortal crown. This was a bit difficult for Li Ruotong to accept. Are you so weak in front of this person? No, I can't be discouraged. He is an ancient immortal emperor in Kunlun realm. Now his cultivation level is higher than mine. It is normal for him to be able to suppress me easily. Li Ruotong took a few deep breaths and comforted himself silently in his heart. Suddenly, a series of screams brought her thoughts back to reality. Li Ruotong was shocked to find that a dark golden flying knife was flying rapidly, cutting off the souls of many alien emperors in an instant. A moment of effort. Of the original 11 alien emperors, only 3 are left. This scene made Li Ruotong's scalp numb and his throat had difficulty swallowing. What magic weapon is this? Killing the immortal emperor is like killing a chicken. Don't worry, this is my magic weapon, the soul-destroying blade. Yi Junlin had a faint smile on his lips. Soul-destroying blade, Li Ruotong's heart felt like a storm was rising. You know, the soul is the weak point of a monk. Flesh and blood can generally be regenerated, but if the soul is injured, it is basically difficult to recover. What's more, if they are all killed, even a saint can't save it. The most important thing is that even the Soul Heaven Immortal Emperor, who previously majored in divine souls, cannot withstand the current blow of the soul-destroying blade. It is conceivable that the soul-destroying blade is a nightmare and deadly weapon for any immortal emperor. Don't come over, don't come over. The Earth Demon King Puxi and the Squid King Dolly looked horrified and tried to avoid the soul-destroying blade, but they were still ruthlessly cut off of all their souls. After the last scream, the corpses fell into the sea and set off huge waves. Buried at the bottom of the sea. As the last survivor, the red-haired Yasha King flapped its wings desperately. At this time, it was already frightened and wanted to escape from the scene. As a result, a dark golden flying knife blocked the way, and Yi Junlin's playful voice came from behind. Haha, where are you going? The red-haired Yaksha King was sweating profusely. With great fear and uneasiness in his heart, he turned around stiffly and gritted his teeth and said, Your Excellency, you have good means, but don't think that by doing this, you can save the entire northern cold Immortaland. With Her Royal Highness here, even if you are extremely capable, you will definitely lose. It has a kind of blind and absolute confidence in Rosa, the princess of the Asura clan. This is a performance that can only occur if you are completely convinced physically and mentally. Obviously, the methods Yi Junlin showed were not enough to make the red-haired Yaksha King feel that he was stronger than Rosa. In front of a 9th-grade Taoist formation master, this trick is nothing. Princess. A strange color flashed in the eyes of Li Ruotong and Yi Junlin. It seems that behind this extraterritorial army is a powerful alien female cultivator. Suddenly, the whole world seemed to tremble violently. Boom, a jet black light like a comet came here instantly with the sound of breaking wind. An even greater sense of oppression spread in all directions, far more powerful than the immortal emperors of other races. It was a tall figure wearing a black evil ghost mask, standing with his hands on his back, his whole body filled with dark purple terrifying arrogance, burning every inch of the surrounding void. This is the Chi of Shura. Only monks of the Asura clan can possess the Asura Chi, which has the remarkable effect of increasing one's own damage and healing. Relying on the energy of Shura, every Asura clan member is a born warrior, brave and good at fighting without fear of death. After long years of fighting in the universe, they have become the strongest race recognized by Juyu, and they are among the highest clan. At this time, as one of the princess's personal guards, He Buiyu traveled hundreds of millions of miles to the coordinates sent by the alien emperors. However, I saw an unexpected scene. Seeing the visitor, the red-haired Yaksha King cried with joy as if he had grasped a life-saving straw. Lord Black Zetsu, save me. When it saw Black Ju appear, it felt very excited, as if it had seen the dawn of hope. The red-haired Yaksha King knew very well that the 2 personal guards beside Her Royal Highness were each extremely powerful and were among the first echelons of the Immortal Emperor. It is easy to defeat a second-tier Immortal Emperor-level powerhouse like it. And the only one who can save it right now is the other party. Oh, here comes another one. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows, his eyes showing strong interest. He could clearly feel that the aura of the masked man known as He Ju was unprecedentedly powerful, much stronger than all the alien emperors he had killed before combined. In the sky, the tall figure stood with his hands behind his hands. Behind the black mask was a pair of cold and solemn eyes. Seeing this situation, he suddenly thought of many things. There are so many immortal emperor-level legion leaders, and now only the red-haired Yaksha King is left. If this matter is not handled well, how will I explain to Her Highness the Princess when I go back? You must be the human immortal emperor they say is difficult to deal with. He Ju said coldly, not daring to take it lightly. He could sense that this silver-haired young man was very dangerous. Are you here to die too? Yi Junlin said. Boom. A vast pillar of pitch-black light rose into the sky and penetrated the vast sky, making the sky within a million miles as dark as ink. So strong. Li Ruotong's heart was shaken, and the other person's aura made her feel extremely uneasy. The immortal emperors of the alien races she fought against were not at the same level at all. Li Ruotong even had the illusion that the other party could slap her to death. Within the beam of light, Heiju's aura was rising steadily. The face behind the mask was full of anger, and his eyes were very scary. After all, he is also a high-ranking duke of the Asura clan, ranking 4th in the duke's combat power list. You know, this list includes all the dukes of the family, and he ranks 4th among all the dukes. What is this concept? In other words, he is currently one of the 4 strongest among the immortal emperors of the Asura clan. Under this premise, Heiju was very proud in his heart. Even though he is willing to serve as Rose's personal guard, in fact this position is extremely precious and can only be obtained. Even apart from Princess Rosa who knows his identity, the only one who knows his identity is Rose's father. Moreover, Heiju is naturally willing to do whatever it takes to protect the future empress of the Asura tribe, without any temper. But in this backward world, a humble native dared to speak to him like this. Obviously, this offended Heiju's reverse scale. He was so angry that his murderous intention towards Yi Junlin reached its peak. Chapter 557. C560 Peak at the first appearance. So easily anxious, Yi Junlin clicked his tongue. Lord Black Jew, help me, this guy's magic weapon is weird, it can attack the soul. Before he could finish his words, the soul-destroying blade suddenly slashed away at a weird speed. In just an instant, the red-haired Yaksha King's soul was cut into 2 pieces and turned into nothing. The red-haired Yaksha King trembled all over, his eyes instantly lost their brightness, and his body fell straight towards the sea, causing a huge wave, and then there was no movement at all. Heiju's eyes turned cold and his heart sank slightly. He could see that the characteristics of the flying knife were very weird. It could cut off even the soul of the immortal emperor, which was very terrifying. It's your turn, Yi Junlin sneered and pointed at Heiju in the distance with his fingertips. Stab. The soul-destroying blade rotates in several arcs in the air, slashing towards the target with lightning speed. Snort. Heiju's gaze is deep, and his figure changes unpredictably, turning into thousands of figures that combine reality and reality, making it elusive. Buzzing, the soul-destroying blade missed many times, and finally hung in the air and kept swinging. Yi Junlin was a little surprised. There were targets that the soul-destroying blade couldn't hit. Aha! The next second, a man in a black mask appeared next to the soul-destroying blade. He raised his hand and grabbed the dark golden flying knife. Powerful power erupted from his palm, and countless dark purple thunder and lightning spread crazily. A magic weapon with such powerful characteristics should be mine. Heiju behaved very domineeringly, wanting to take the soul-destroying blade by force and use it for his own use. No, fellow Taoist Yi, he is going to steal your magic weapon. Li Ruotong said anxiously. The strange thing is that Yi Junlin didn't panic at all, his eyes looked like he was looking at a mentally retarded person. Recycle. Immediately, the soul-destroying blade disappeared out of thin air. It was directly recovered by the system. What's going on? Seeing the magic weapon he had obtained disappear inexplicably, Heiju's face showed a look of shock. He has never seen this situation before. There was no trace of energy fluctuations left in the air, as if it had completely disappeared from this world. Hey, are you looking for it? Yi Junlin raised his hand, and the soul-destroying blade appeared again, spinning around on his palm. Heiju was silent for a few seconds, and then he squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth, Your Excellency is really good at it. To be able to take away the magic weapon from his hand without any warning is truly amazing. But you have to know that with just this trick, it doesn't pose much of a threat to me. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, a breath of cultivation from the immortal emperor's 6th level enveloped the entire world as vast as the sea. In Heiju's hand, there was a black and cold euphorbia, which erupted into a blazing ball of light when he held it in his hand. This is the best immortal emperor weapon, which was given to him by Rose's father as a reward after he became Rose's personal guard. He actually has the best immortal emperor weapon. Li Ruotong's pupils trembled, and the smell of the euphorbia in his hand made her feel uneasy. Haha, you're surprised, right? Heiju said proudly. Hoo. The surging dark purple Shira energy continued to condense on the halberd blade, emitting monstrous energy fluctuations. The unique Shira energy of the Asura tribe also has grades. From low to high, they are dark green, dark black, dark purple, dark red, and dark gold. Among them, the dark green Shira Chi is more common. If it can transform into dark black, if nothing unexpected happens, it can grow into the mainstay of the clan in the future. When it comes to dark purple, it is the qualification of a first-rate powerhouse. As for the darker red color, currently only the royal bloodline has this qualification. As for the dark golden Shira Chi, no one in the Asura clan today possesses it. According to rumors, this kind of Shira Chi can be traced back to the first generation of King Asura. Later, it was unknown but did not continue, causing this kind of Shira Chi to only exist in legends. Therefore, the highest level currently is recognized as the dark red Shira Chi. But one thing is, whoever has the dark golden Asura Chi, then this person will be the future Asura king and can lead the Asura clan to new glory. King Asura is the symbol of supremacy, and his status is higher than that of the patriarch, who is elected every 10,000 years. Back to business. Black Jew, who possesses dark purple Shira energy, is definitely very powerful individually. This is also a status symbol that he is proud of. Human race, die. Heijun's face was filled with murderous intent. He swung the black halberd in his hand vigorously, then used one of his strongest moves to strike at Yi Junlin fiercely. Boom! The sound of the sonic boom was deafening, and the halberd blade wrapped in Shira's energy fell like a sacred mountain. The domineering momentum overwhelmed all living beings. Heiju is very confident that with the blessing of the best immortal emperor weapon, he can definitely easily kill this ungrateful native of the immortal world. Dang! A loud clash of gold and iron shook all directions, and the sea area thousands of miles around was shaken up by huge waves. Heiju's eyes showed shock. He found that the halberd in his hand could not be pressed down no matter what. It was firmly blocked by the golden sword in front of him, and he could not move forward at all. At this time, Yi Junlin held the Kang Yuan sword in front of him, his long silver-white hair flowing like a waterfall, with a playful look on the corner of his mouth. Isn't it just the best immortal emperor weapon? It seems like no one has it. Hear the words. The corners of Li Ruotong's mouth twitched crazily, and his heart felt as if he had been stabbed hard by a knife. Fellow Taoist Yi, how could you say such words that hurt your self-esteem? That's enough. HMPH, that's just right. You and I are the same, so this showdown is interesting. Heiju quickly adjusted his state and sneered. Since everyone has the best immortal emperor weapon, no one can bully anyone. Same. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows, then shook his head and said, No, we are different. Aha! A vast shadow of an ancient crown appeared above the head, emitting billions of bright immortal lights. In an instant, Yi Junlin's whole body burst out with overwhelming momentum, his eyes were like lightning, and his momentum was overwhelming. What? Heiju's expression suddenly changed, and he felt as if he was carrying a sacred mountain on his back. The immortal power in his body was difficult to operate and was very stagnant. It was as if he was as small as dust in front of the other person. This is the immortal crown of the great heaven. Black Jew lost his voice. Back then, he was very motivated and wanted to condense a perfect number of immortal lord-level laws so as to establish the greatest advantage for himself in the future when he becomes the immortal emperor. But in the end, he couldn't stand it any longer, and was forced to become an immortal emperor due to reality, missing out on the most powerful immortal emperor qualification. Therefore, when Heiju saw Yi Junlin's crown of immortality, Heiju felt extremely shocked in his heart, but also had an indescribable emotion. There was envy, jealousy, disbelief, and awe that he didn't want to admit. I would like to ask, how long does it take to work hard to achieve this? Those who can achieve it are all people with great perseverance. A moment. Black Zetsu's faith was severely frustrated and his condition deteriorated further. Facing Yi Junlin, this high-ranking duke of the Asura clan no longer had any arrogance in his heart. Chapter 558. C561 This kind of rhetoric again. Boom. Yi Junlin exerted his strength, and the long sword in his hand burst out with terrifying power. Heiju, who was suppressed so hard that he couldn't even use half of his strength, naturally couldn't withstand the blow. His entire tall body flew straight out, causing two huge waves on the sea along the way. Aha! Most of the mask on Heiju's face was broken, revealing a pale face that was sweating in pain, with strands of blood seeping out of the skin. The internal organs in the body were almost shattered, which was very uncomfortable. In this situation, if it were another immortal emperor, there is a high chance that he would lose his ability to fight. But Hei is anything but the same. He is a noble duke of the Asura clan, possessing dark purple Asura energy. At this moment, Heiju used Shira Chi to go deep into his body to recuperate his injuries, causing the broken bones and internal organs to heal rapidly. His pale complexion improved, and his eyes looking at the young man became particularly fearful. Interesting. Yi Junlin's eyes flickered, and he could see that Heiju's condition was recovering rapidly, all thanks to the mysterious dark purple gas. After asking the system, Yi Junlin figured out what it was. No wonder the Asura clan can join the Supreme Clan, they are simply a natural fighting race. This self-healing ability is not inferior to that of the undead vampires. Not to mention, it also has attack power. At the same level, how many strong men can compete with him? This guy is very strong. If we continue to fight hard, I will never be his opponent. He Juleng was sweating, his eyes changing constantly. When Yi Junlin revealed his immortal crown, he had a clear understanding of this battle. It's not on the same level at all. Unless his immortal crown is at the same level as his opponent, he can ignore the suppression effect and compete equally. Unfortunately, there are no ifs in everything. Since you are so capable, why don't you join the Ming Lord? As long as you are willing to serve under my Asura clan, you will have a better future than in this backward immortal world. Heiju's mind was spinning rapidly and he said in a deep voice. Tisk, tisk, you thought you couldn't win, so you decided to win over me instead. Are you foreigners so confident? Yi Junlin said mockingly. I still remember that when we were in the Kunlun realm, a birdman from the Guangming tribe behaved the same way. At first he wanted to get rid of him, but then he saw that he couldn't succeed, and when he was forced to a dead end, he started to try to win over him. It can be described as all kinds of coercion and inducement. Especially this saying, the general meaning is the same. Hearing this, Heiju looked embarrassed, tightened the euphorbia in his hand, took a few deep breaths and said with a serious face. Your Excellency, you are joking. For an unparalleled powerhouse with your qualifications, staying in the immortal realm is a waste. You are fully capable of reaching the holy realm, so why are you wasting your time here? To tell you the truth, the reason why the immortal world has been able to survive until now is nothing more than the result of the checks and balances between the two camps. Because of the factors left over from the past history, Juyu hates the immortal world deeply, but if he really wants to show his true intentions, even 10 immortal worlds combined will be destroyed. What he said inside and outside was nothing but intimidation and intimidation. Li Ruotong couldn't stand listening anymore, and shouted angrily with a cold face, that's nonsense. If you foreigners are really that strong, why are you delaying until now? Can't you attack the immortal world for a long time? Heiju said. Haha, that's because your immortal world is located in the territory ruled by Shenting. It is wrong for Juyu to send troops, and there is a saint agreement, so it is not easy to send out saint creatures to attack, so it is delayed again and again. Drag. Li Ruotong heard the key points and wrinkled her nose. What kind of saint agreement? Are there many saints on your side? Stop being so mysterious. She was born in the ancient Kunlun world and had seen the glorious scene of the 4 great saints in the same era, so in her impression, saints were very rare. It would be great to have one of the top 10 big worlds in the past. However, Li Ruotong felt something was wrong from Heiju's words, and felt inexplicably nervous in his heart. Immortal, your understanding of the outside world is still stuck in the past. Let me tell you this. In a medium world ruled by my Asura clan, the number of people who have reached the holy realm is double digits. And in this kind of world, as numerous as sand in the vast universe. What did you say? Li Ruotong's face changed, and there was deep disbelief in her eyes. She didn't think that the other party was lying to him, because when the other party said this, both his heartbeat and his expression were very natural. What's more, as long as you make a great oath, you can tell whether it's the truth or a lie. Yi Junlin seemed much calmer, because he had known everything in the Kunlun world for a long time, and knew that the development outside was far beyond traditional knowledge. He could also understand Li Ruotong's reaction. After all, it felt like a person who lived in the Cold Weapon dynasty was shocked when he suddenly saw aircraft and cannons. As for the lower world, there are also many semi-saints at the end, and they are also powerful men who surpass the immortal emperor. As for your immortal world, you are already at the bottom of the lower world. In order for the negotiation to succeed, Black Zetsu revealed more information. He adopts a psychological attack strategy, aiming to break down the target's psychological defense. But the strange thing is that the silver-haired young man acted very calmly, as if he already knew everything, but the woman behind him had great mood swings, and seemed to be about to collapse. Heiju was very depressed about this. If this is the case, then what is the point of our perseverance? Is all this just a game of the saints? Li Ruotong, whose cognition was overturned, found it difficult to accept this huge psychological gap. Her graceful body could not stop shaking. She didn't know whether it was because of anger or fear, or both. Dao Yu Li, don't panic too much. Everything is still unknown. Yi Junline's voice was clear, containing a power of calming the mind and clearing the mind, which gradually restored Li Ruotong, whose emotions fluctuated violently. Dao Yuyi, she raised her head and stared at the silver-haired figure with a calm temperament. She felt inexplicably settled in her heart. Heiju suppressed his inner uneasiness and said with a stiff face, "If we fail again this time, maybe the next person who comes will be a figure above the immortal emperor. Do you know the consequences? That's great, I will welcome them very much." When saying this, Yi Junline smiled sincerely, and his teeth were white and shiny. This is happiness from the heart. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Heiju was stunned. What's going on? Shouldn't you be scared? Why are you looking forward to it inexplicably? Okay, to thank you for your kindness, I'll send you to the west with one sword. Yi Junline slowly raised the long sword in his hand and held it high above his head. The sword body exuded an extremely terrifying aura. In an instant, his momentum was like a peerless divine sword, as domineering and resolute as to cut off the avenue. Li Ruotong's pupils shrank and her mind was shocked. That was the great perfection of the Dao grade sword intention, the ultimate height that the sword emperors of all generations have pursued throughout their lives. Unexpectedly, this silver-haired young man has achieved it. If you dare to kill me, Her Highness the Princess will never let you go. Feeling a strong breath of death, Heiju's scalp almost exploded, and he shouted in horror while retreating violently. He would rather be killed by the strong men of the divine court in the universe than die on this backward indigenous planet. This is a great shame for the noble Asura clan. Don't worry, I will go find her. Yi Junline smiled kindly. Chila, an extremely gorgeous golden sword light tore through the sky, and descended on Heiju with the world's supreme sword intent. Ah! Heiju raised the halberd in his hand high, trying his best to resist, his face bursting with blue veins, his expression was very ferocious and scary. However, his resistance seemed so ridiculous. In a moment, under the golden sword light that was enough to cut through the starry sky, the halberd in Heiju's hand broke into pieces with a crackle, and his flesh and blood were evaporating rapidly. Even the Shirachi could not repair it. In the last second of his life, he screamed miserably, his eyes were terrified. Boom! Under this majestic sword power, the vast sea split into two sides and surged, revealing the bottom of the sea that was usually bottomless. After a long time, the sword light slowly disappeared, and the world returned to peace again. Li Ruotong looked dazed, staring at the tall figure, and murmured, "How many people in the world can block this sword?" Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumb speed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 559. C562 Big Counterattack. When Li Ruotong witnessed Yi Junline's strength with his own eyes, Li Ruotong was very shocked. The power of a sword is so terrifying. Even the legendary top-grade immortal emperor weapon was shattered by this sword move. You can imagine how amazing the power it contained was. Simply unheard of. In fact, only Yi Junline knew that it was normal for him to do this. After all, he not only has the best immortal emperor weapon, as well as the blessing of the great perfection Taoist sword intention and invincible sword heart, he is also stimulated by the 9th grade immortal power. With all kinds of blessings, the power of the sword just now has been superimposed to an extremely exaggerated level. It would be weird if Heiju could block it. The top priority now is to solve the biggest threat in this incident, which is the princess he calls. Yi Junline's eyes flashed. Moreover, he learned from Heiju that the so-called princess sounded powerful, which suddenly aroused his interest. Li Ruotong tried his best to adjust his mind and said seriously, "What fellow Taoist Yi said is absolutely true. The alien princess is the biggest threat. If we don't get rid of her, the crisis in the northern cold immortaland will not be resolved." Unconsciously, her attitude became much more respectful, and she felt a sense of awe towards Yi Junline. "But where are we going to find her?" Yi Junline said. Li Ruotong thought for a long time and muttered, "The demon cave is an important channel for the invasion of foreign races from outside the territory. If something unexpected happens in the demon cave, they will not be able to contact the outside world. Therefore, the demon cave has a very strong strategic role. I think the alien princess is sitting there. Take command of the overall situation." Yi Junline nodded, feeling that this inference was very reasonable. "In that case, I will go to Taihang Forbidden Mountain now and get rid of her." He had previously learned that the demon cave in the northern Han Immortal territory was located in the Taihang Forbidden Mountain and knew its approximate location. I'll go with you, Li Ruotong said subconsciously. Unexpectedly, Yi Junlin waved his hands, with a hint of rejection in his words. No need. This trip must be extremely dangerous. Even I may have to go all out and not be careless. I see that fellow Taoist Li is injured, so it would be better to stay behind to deal with the foreign troops and help the monks from all over the country to cross the border. Get through it. Li Ruotong's face stiffened, and she pursed her lips and nodded. Fellow Taoist Yi is right, Li will just do as he said. What they said was very euphemistic. The implication is that you are too weak and not qualified. If you go, you will cause trouble. It is better to stay behind and deal with the minions. Li Ruotong had no objections to this and admitted that he was not qualified to participate. After all, she couldn't even defeat the masked man who just appeared, let alone the alien princess who was even more powerful than the masked man. Anyway, going there will only cause trouble. It is better to stay in the rear and clean up the foreign troops, which can save more innocent people. Fellow Taoist Yi, please be more careful next time. Li Ruotong couldn't help, so he had to remind him verbally. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Yi Junlin showed a confident smile. He didn't need to make too many guarantees to make people convinced, because this is a trait that only strong people possess. Li Ruotong's voice was like a mosquito, and his gaze was diverted for some reason, and his heartbeat inexplicably accelerated a lot in an instant. Yi Junlin did not notice anything strange about the other party, but focused on the direction to the Taihang Forbidden Mountain. Immediately, his figure flashed and turned into a stream of light and rushed to his destination. Li Ruotong stared blankly, and couldn't help but recall the intimate behavior of the other party when he whispered in her ear that day in the Eternal Immortal Sect. Combined with the events he had just experienced, some emotions emerged in his heart for a while. Before Yi Junlin appeared, Li Ruotong was very strong and proud. After all, she was recognized as the strongest person in the northern Han Immortaland, and no man in the world could be taken seriously by her. Until Yi Junlin broke into her field of vision, his free and easy behavior, as well as the courage and self-confidence that seemed to be able to suppress everything, quietly conquered Li Ruotong's heart, making her feel admiration for the opposite sex for the first time. The feeling of adoration. After a while, Li Ruotong suppressed the strange emotions in his heart, and regained his previous demeanor. His temperament was noble and cold, like a goddess who did not eat the fireworks of the world, but could not be blasphemed from a distance. In this situation, she must be more rational. Li Ruotong returned to the great domain of creation and caused a sensation everywhere as soon as he appeared. Look, it's Immortal Emperor Hao Yu who's back. She's not dead. Bah, how powerful is Immortal Emperor Hao Yu? How could he be killed by those monsters? If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will make you splash with blood 5 steps. Well, Your Excellency, don't get excited, it was just a slip of the tongue. Discussions in various places were fierce. Everyone was surprised that Li Ruotong returned safely. The ancestor is back. Great. All the people in the Li family were very excited, and the cheers were loud. After all, no matter how much they trusted Li Ruotong, they still couldn't help but have wild thoughts in their minds since they hadn't seen Li Ruotong show up for a long time. Now that I see Li Ruotong making a strong return, the stone hanging in my heart has finally fallen to the ground. Li Ruotong looked down at the people in the great realm of creation, with an unquestionable tone in his voice. Everyone, I was able to escape safely only because of the help of Emperor Yi Tian. At this moment, he himself has rushed to the demon cave to deal with the supreme commander of the demon outside the territory. As soon as these words came out, just like a stone causing thousands of waves, it caused a huge sensation in an instant. Great, Emperor Yi Tian took action, our northern cold immortal territory is saved. Countless people said with excitement and encouragement. Able to defeat 11 alien immortal emperors and forcibly turn the tide of the war, Emperor Yi Tian is indeed the rumored strongest being in the northern cold immortal territory. Now, if any of you are willing, please follow me to the major regions to fight against the demons outside the regions and restore the dignity and glory of my human race. Li Ruotong spoke loudly, and his tone contained a majestic aura. Kill the aliens and return our lands. I don't know who took the lead in shouting. More and more monks raised their arms and shouted, and responded to the call. Kill the aliens and return my land and rivers. At this moment, billions of voices gathered together, as if they were about to shatter the stars in the sky. The scene was very grand and inspiring. Immediately afterwards, Under the leadership of Li Ruotong, all the monks in the Great Creation territory took action and organized large-scale teams to rush to the major realms to launch a desperate counterattack against the extraterritorial coalition forces in the northern cold immortal territory. Invisibly, the balance of victory is tilting. Taihang Forbidden Mountain. The 1.5-meter-tall little loli with twin ponytails sat on a ball of bubbles, suspended in the sky, swinging her legs leisurely, humming an unknown tune. She is looking forward to the next contest with the strongest person in the immortal court. Your Highness Princess, bad news just came from the front line. At this time, a voice belonging to a guard sounded from behind, seeming a little uneasy and nervous. Rosa raised her eyebrows. Don't tell this princess that those losers can't even handle the natives here. The man in the white mask felt the dissatisfaction of the little princess, and secretly complained in his heart, and said bravely. According to news from the front line, our army is retreating steadily. Most of the territory that it has invaded is being taken back step by the indigenous people here. The soldiers have suffered heavy losses and the casualties are very tragic. The words just fell. The surrounding temperature suddenly dropped to freezing point, making him feel chilled to the bone and chilled all over his body. There was no trace of anger on Rosa's face. On the contrary, she showed a sweet smile, but this smile had a creepy feeling. You mean, our Juyu army is suffering a defeat? Yes, Your Highness Princess. Bai Ju's scalp was numb and the hairs all over his body stood on end. As a personal guard, he knew what the princess's temperament was, so the more the other party behaved like this, the more uneasy he felt. A bunch of trash who can't hold a big position. Let me ask you, where are the leaders of the armies of various tribes? There are more than a dozen immortal emperor-level strong men, but they still can't win against the lowest-ranking northern Han immortal realm. This princess needs an explanation from them now. Quote. Rosa's voice was cold, and her tone sounded like she was asking for help. Back to Princess, there is no news from them so far, and the same is true for Black Ju who went to support. Bai Ju paused, gritted his teeth and said. Rosa was startled, and a thought emerged from her mind, which made her feel incredible. Aren't these guys all dead? Chapter 560. C563 Furious Rosa. Even Rosa was shocked by this idea. Not to mention that there are more than a dozen king-level leaders in the three-tribe coalition this time. Just take the personal guard Heiju beside her, who is one of the few top-tier strongmen among the immortal emperors. Even such a luxurious lineup was destroyed in a crushing manner. Rosa really didn't expect that in the Beihan immortal domain, where the risk assessment is the lowest, there can still be such a powerful human immortal emperor sitting in charge. It's incredible. Princess, what should we do now? Bai Ju asked cautiously. Because there are human immortal emperors here, the plan has gone seriously wrong now. He dare not imagine how serious the consequences will be. You know, in terms of strength, he is still inferior to Heiju, but even Heiju's strength has gone without return. He feels scared and fortunate. It's just a variable, why panic? Rosa shouted dissatisfiedly. At this time, there was no panic on her face, and her ruby-like eyes were shining, as if she had found a new toy. It seems that I don't need to wait for the strong men in the immortal court to take action. This princess can try out the power of this world-destroying fire formation now. Rosa's smile was sweet, but her tone was chilling. She thought that Bai Ju could be used as bait to attract the powerful human immortal emperor to enter the formation. As long as he enters this world-destroying fire formation, even the strongest immortal emperor will die on the spot. After all, the power of this world-destroying fire formation is enough to enter the third place in the ranking of the heavenly formations. Even the top-tier strong men among the immortal emperors will find it difficult to escape. Their bodies will be burned to ashes alive, and their souls will be destroyed. Rosa didn't believe that the human immortal emperor of the Beihan immortal realm could still come out alive. At this moment, there was a heavy sense of oppression sweeping over the horizon like a tide, followed by a monstrous imperial power that instantly enveloped the Taihang Forbidden Mountain. Groups of foreign monks who were patrolling nearby were all forced to kneel on the ground, their bones crackling, beads of sweat dripping from their foreheads, and their faces full of horror. Boom! Yi Junlin descended on the Taihang Forbidden Mountain with a sword in his hand, his golden eyes as bright as a god, making it difficult to look directly at him. His aura was very sharp and powerful, and his terrifying imperial power was overwhelming, as if he wanted to suppress all enemies in the world. Your Highness, that guy seems to have come here on his own. Bai Ju said in surprise. Rosa looked intently, and when she saw the silver-haired young man, the corners of her beautiful mouth curved into a playful arc. Interesting, I don't even need you to be led here, you actually fell into the trap yourself. At the same time, Yi Junlin shook his sleeves calmly, and an invisible energy wave spread out. All the foreign monks who stayed near the mountains were shattered at this moment. In the surging blood mist, shrill screams came one after another. In an instant, this group of alien monks were wiped out. Hey, you are too presumptuous to kill the princess as soon as you come here. On the top of the mountain, Rosa put her hands on her hips and shouted. Yi Junlin was a little stunned. He really couldn't associate the supreme commander of the alien coalition with this little loli with twin ponytails. From the image, she is definitely a top-notch loli. If it were in his previous life's country, he could make a lot of money by just starting a live broadcast. Rosa saw Yi Junlin in a daze and thought that the other party was frightened by her momentum. She couldn't help but feel proud. It's not too late to kneel down and beg for mercy from this princess now. Seeing that you are talented, this princess may consider taking you as a pet. Bai Ju was shocked and cast an envious look at Yi Junlin. If she really became the pet of Her Royal Highness the Princess, even a duke like him would not dare to provoke her easily. As the saying goes, you have to look at the owner before you beat the dog. In Bai Ju's opinion, Yi Junlin was still too high. After all, there are countless immortal emperor-level strongmen in the entire universe, but not everyone has the opportunity to become the pet of the Asura princess. What are you dreaming about in broad daylight? Yi Junlin just found Rosa's confidence very funny. It's better for you to be my maid. If you don't serve me well, I will definitely beat your ass. Let's be honest, when I thought about being able to put this top-notch little Lolita on my lap, raise my palm and slap her ass wantonly, and beat her so hard that she cried and begged for mercy with tears in her eyes, I felt a strange feeling in my heart. Hearing such a bold statement, Bai Ju was so scared that his legs went weak and he almost fell to the ground. He was sweating all over, and behind the mask was a terrified face. Did I hear it right? This lowly native of the immortal world actually threatened to take the princess as a maid. That's the beloved daughter of the Asura tribe leader. If he heard this, wouldn't he be so angry that he would smash the immortal world with a slap? Rosa was stunned at first, and then her eyes widened, as if she couldn't believe that Yi Junlin would say such a thing. After a while, she finally reacted, her face flushed red, and she was so angry that she was mad on the spot, like an angry little female leopard, angrily saying, "You damn native, how dare you humiliate this princess like this? She is such a noble person, how could she be a maid for a native of the immortal world? And he also said that he would beat her ass." Such remarks not only insulted her, but also insulted the entire noble Asura clan. Are you aggrieved by being my maid? Seeing the little loli going crazy, Yi Junlin found it even more interesting and continued teasing, "If you fall into my hands, I will have to train you well and let you know what it means to be orderly." I didn't hear it, I didn't hear anything. Bai Ju was about to faint from fright, lowering his head and trembling. He could already feel the murderous aura on Rosa's body getting stronger and stronger. Rosa was so angry that she gritted her teeth, the anger in her heart was burning, and the murderous aura released from her whole body was like frost, freezing every inch of space around her. "Human race, you are looking for death." The next second, she formed a seal with her hands and said coldly, "The world-destroying tribulation fire formation, rise." Rumble. In an instant, the entire world was trembling crazily. A super-large formation slowly rose. Countless runes filled the air around it, and each rune released a destructive aura. Yi Junlin narrowed his eyes slightly. Within the field of vision, due to the influence of the large formation, the sky seemed to be smashed to pieces, with a fragmented visual impact, and the vast ground quickly cracked and spewed out streams of magma. The surrounding temperature is rising rapidly, and the scorching air waves are rolling, burning people's skin. Between heaven and earth, an unprecedented terrifying aura began to brew. Countless dark purple flames gathered into a vast ocean, in which many condensed fire dragons were tumbling and making high-pitched dragon roars. Is this the world-destroying tribulation fire formation? Seeing this scene, Bai Ju's heart trembled, and the fear in his body surged like a flood, raging throughout his body. In front of this legendary 9th-grade Taoist formation, even 100 of him combined would not be able to compete. Rosa smiled like a little witch, her voice was cold and filled with murderous intent. "Human race, you will soon pay a painful price for your words and deeds just now. I want to see you with my own eyes, suffering from pain in this endless calamity fire, and finally ending up in ashes."